Yeah, King Kong Grip is like, didn't you host it? It's like you invite all the top grip guys and you guys do like a medley of different grip stuff, right?
That's a good off the cuff. What they do is they have sites all over the world. So we have Russia, Ukraine, um, Austria, Germany. Normally the UK. The UK was out this year. Australia, Canada, obviously USA. A couple other countries I'm not thinking off the top of my head. So they're all competing on the same four lifts with the same rules. And what will happen is all the scores get put into one master chart. Because
Oh,
of the
okay.
nature of grip sport, it's often a challenge to find competition at a local level. So one of the things that people were asking for years is, how do we compete against each other if you're in Australia and I'm in Texas, for example? Because you think about what the cost would look like to just try to do that event.
Right,
Very,
right.
very expensive. So it makes it more accessible for more folks. And this year, it seems like we had 225 people compete
Wow.
across like
Cool.
11 different countries.
And the results just came in, or do you have to tally it, or what?
They just got posted. So the grand promoters of the event is these two guys, Andrew Pankey, who owns an equipment company called Fat Bastard Barbell. They've made very badass grip equipment for like 20 years. Who's the promoter is Eric Razone, who is just super freaking athlete. He was a national level arm wrestler in Canada. In the arm lifting league, he has performed at the very top of the sport since it rolled out 10 years ago. Just all around bad dude. And what they've done is probably over the last week or so, they've been getting results in and building out these charts. Man, it's a lot of work to do, but they got all the way through it. I think they started working on results last night because I was the last guy to send in results.
Right.
My contest didn't end until about 9 p.m. And I'm betting they worked most of the night, and I know all of today to stack it up. So it's pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to check the results. That's crazy. Okay, so for the Q&A, don't worry about like your responses. I could always edit it. So if you need more time to think, like I could edit it,
Oh, I'm,
pauses and
I'm pretty
stuff.
quick on my feet.
Okay. Uh, can we start off with like a bio about yourself, like a quick intro, um, as an overall quick intro for yourself?
Yes. So, guys, I'm 37 years old. I live in Weatherford, Texas. Uh, if somebody did know my name, they probably would know it from either seeing something involving steel bending or feats of strength and performance. It may have been through the kettlebell community. It may have been associated with that some calisthenics communities, or it may be grip sport and arm lifting. So I've competed now strength sports for many, many years, but specifically with the hand strength stuff since about 2009. I
Okay.
would have to total up the total number of contests I've done, but I mean, probably, like, no exaggeration, maybe 60 contests. It's a thing that I really like to do every year. If I have an on season year and off season years. If it's an on season year, I'll do upwards to 14, 15 meets throughout the year.
Oh, wow.
And the thing that would be, especially if you're a power lifter, that might be like, dude, how do you do that? Because the nature of the lifts do not tax you the way it would if, like guys who hit huge squats, you can't just hit your meet numbers necessarily month after month. But with these events, it seems that you can. So there's events happening all over the world. For our sport, it's probably biggest in USA, Russia, Ukraine, huge over there, the UK, and Finland. The Finns absolutely love it. So, guys, I like to go out. I like to go to meets. I like to meet people. We see who can pick up some crazy silly bar this way or whatever.
All right.
Um, I'm married. We do not have any children. We have a new property. We just moved into this back in July. So we've got some chickens and some guinea fowl, and we've got some cats and dogs. Uh, Occupation wise, I do a lot of different things. By trade, I'm an electrician. I've also been a bar manager. I've been a server. I did 10 years in the United States Air Force. I was military police. I've owned 3 different gyms and then operated about 7 total, working
Wow.
with from 4 different people. We've done some DVDs over the years. We've done webinars. I love podcasting, bro. So, like, I thank you for having me out. Whenever someone asks me out, if you ask me, I'll say yes. And I'll tell you the thing about it too. I don't even look at the shows. I'm just gonna show up because it's just a dude wanting to talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll either work out for what they do or I won't, but I'll totally come up for it. So I love podcasts, and I've probably been on um, within mostly a strength and community circle, though, probably 15 or 20 different podcasts. There's probably 60 or 7 out somewhere. I used to do a lot of shows with a guy named Eric Forello. He passed away this year from a heart attack, but he had an incredible site going, a real big thing. So we did a ton of talks on that. If you ever look those up, if you like, Eric was a very alpha, kick in the door, take no prisoners kind of guy. And he had a very particular podcast. So some of you guys might have really dug that.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'll for sure check it out. I actually stumbled upon you when I first got into grip. I think it's a 9-year-old video. I saw it like maybe last year, and it was How to Tear a Deck of Cards by like Adam
So
Glass.
I'll tell you what. So for me, card tearing was one of the first. Okay, like, so guys, like a lot of you, I got started lifting weights, because I'm an 80s kid. So you see, Van Damme and Arnold and Stallone, and it's like, okay, cool. When I get older, I want to be like that. I want to be that guy, right? So I got into lifting pretty much the way I think probably it might look a little different now. Like, we didn't have awesome CrossFits and that kind of option. Where I grew up out in a little suburb outside of Detroit, Garden City. We had a Gold's Gym there, and this was like a classic Gold's Gym. You walk in and there's like 500 black and white photos on the wall, and you start looking at them, and it's every bodybuilder, every powerlifter, strongman you've ever seen with the gym owner making the same smile, like that kind of thing. So I got started there lifting weights. Well, in 2006, I had saw a video of a guy bending a wrench, and I said, that ain't real. I mean, or if it's real, like, there's a lot of stuff I really like. You kind of start to realize as you get older how much you don't know rather than how much you do, and it's like, man, there's something I don't know about. And I saw pictures in old books. They'd talk about this strong man could tear this many decks of cards. And I remember I grabbed my first deck of cards and I pull it out of the package and I go to grab it, and it just sliced my thumb and it didn't tear. And I'm like, wow, that is really hard and it hurts. I went on from that point. I've probably 1,000 decks of cards, maybe 1,500 decks of cards. Nowadays, I don't even have to train it anymore. I just got a rubber block that I just twist on once or twice a week, and that keeps my skin ready for it. Okay. It's one of those things where, and like, you see it a lot in sport and like calisthenics and gymnastics, where it's so hard to get to this level, but once you reach this level, you can kind of always do that if you're maintaining most of your shape.
Right.
Like, getting your very first handstand push-up or your first front lever can take so long, but once it clicks, you can kind of almost do it whenever you want. So there's a level to it that once you get strong, you can do it. But guys, I am a card tearing fool. That is how a lot of people have reached out to me in the past. And actually, it's one of those videos. I have like 1,500 videos, but I bet none of them have any views. It's just, I don't even know how to do the YouTube thing in a way that would make it easy for anybody to find, because I have no idea. Like, I have no idea what somebody would be looking for to look for that, because I use it like a training log.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like algorithms, and there are ways to get your video out there to market it. But yeah, that's just how I found you. That's funny because you saw a guy bending a wrench, and I'm like, I saw a strongman talking about card tearing, and then I went to like a rabbit hole of YouTube videos, and I stumbled upon for card tearing. I'm like, wait, that's so cool. And I'm like, dude, I went to the dollar store and got 7 decks, and I couldn't do it either. So I've been training. I haven't picked it up in a while, but I love that. I am really into grip and nail bending.
Yes.
And I really like arm wrestling. I'll say arm wrestling is my number one. And I heard that you recently got into arm wrestling. So I wanted to ask you about
that is true.
How you got into arm wrestling, and what do you predict, and what do you think, how can a grip guy transfer to arm wrestling and vice versa? Is it hard to balance both, or?
Oh, there's a lot. Okay, we're gonna break that up.
Yeah, you could unpack it however you want.
You got a lot of really great questions packed in there.
Okay.
Before I open that, the last thing I want to close it for you, Adam, is this. So take your time developing the hand tearing, because it does take ligaments and tendons to get strong.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would tell you to do is this. So start off with half a deck of cards, and over time you'll be adding. When you hit to a point that you can get through a certain number of cards, like pretty consistently on the first hit, start breaking them into little piles, and then just sit in front of your TV or your computer screen and use your pinchers and tear it down into a pack of confetti.
Okay.
So whether you're tearing 10 cards at a time or 30 cards at a time, what's really going to speed up your progress is a lot of doing this. And then in terms of the wrist component, the biggest thing about it is there's an exercise called a plate curl and a plate wrist curl.
I'm
It's like
familiar.
a
Yeah.
super old, like it's one of those things where, everybody has seen a plate. So when you do it, everybody understands in terms of demonstration wise and for training, it really works to help with all steel bends. It helps with all of your tearing, and it will help any kind of pinch lifting you ever want. So this is like when this is really strong, you can use all of your shoulders and your upper back and your ab strength to transmit into the object. If this is kind of weak, the problem is you might have a super powerful arm and you can't push the, like, okay, and this is me not picking on the guy, and I'll be standing face to face with him in February, so I won't say no shitty things about him. Larry Wheels.
Yeah.
Larry
I saw that
can
video.
easily curl over 200 pounds for reps. I mean, his max is something like, man, maybe 230, 240. And that's a super strict kind of barbell curl. I bet Larry's arms are probably 6 inches bigger than mine. I bet I'll get a picture when we're standing next to each other. We're both going to flex. He's going to make me look like a little kid flexing with his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we both grabbed a hard to lever object, I might be able to hang with him, even though he's got 60 pounds on me, maybe. Because this for me is really good. Like this, not whatever, but this is really good. So I'm able to use all of my force because everything gets out of my hand. Think about if you needed to pound a nail, but I put a big pillow over the nail. Well, you got the hammer and you got the arm to swing it, but if anything's softening that up, you don't get good hits on it. So
Yeah.
wrist strength, so useful, my man.
I trained the plate curl. That's one of the first things I picked up. I couldn't do 25 at first. Now I could do it for like 10 reps, like at any time in a workout. I'm
Yes.
working up to the 35. 45 is legit so insane. Like that's like legend status. I remember seeing it. RVJ, the middleweight champion of the WAL.
He's a
He was
very, dude, he's
off of
got a
his knee.
really good hand and wrist.
He was doing it off his knee, and I was like, wow, like I couldn't believe that's possible. And then I see you recently, you pick it up with a straight arm and you like bring it to your head and you make it look really easy. And so do you program that? I assume what you work with lighter weights, or do you just how do you work the plate curl into
How do
your
you get to the plate curl? So guys, the first thing is that everything I'm about to tell you, you can see if you choose to go back through my YouTube channel between probably like the middle of 2012 going into 13, and then there'll be a complete shift going into at the end of 13 because I flipped my training model. So what I would do is this. So number one, the problem with the plate curl is not the pounds, it's the inches. So get yourself a variety of size weights. So for example, if we go to the store and we look at 25s, and that store is a terrible example. If you have somebody who's got a great home gym, but they got like the hodgepodge collection of all the plates, if you grab 5 or 6 25s, when you lay them down, more important than is maybe this one a little under 24, maybe this one's 25.5, you're going to notice some of them are a little bit longer or shorter, or the rim might be thicker or shorter or wider or thinner. Okay, so that matters because the build of your thumb is different than mine. Everyone's hand is actually, it's pretty unique in its construction. We'll always talk about someone's hands look like so-and-so's. And what we mean by definition is that I can't just say a hand because they all look kind of different, right?
Right.
You need multiple plates to find out a scale of difficulty. So maybe this 25, you can grab it and you're like, man, this one, it fits in my hand almost perfectly, in my opinion. It feels great. Maybe this one doesn't. So this one's harder to curl, even though they're the same weight. Maybe even the same number of inches, but the rims could be different. So what I did was I had me about 10 different 45s. Now they were all true weight 45s. So it's not like I tried to find a 40-pound 45. They're all 45s, but some of them were stubby and fat. Some of them were really thin and long, and then all different varieties of textures. And I found the one that I could eventually build into, and then I worked to get all of them. So like for me, I have 2 goals that I'll take going into next year. So the first one is no human being has proved that they could strictly plate curl a 25 kilo plate. a
Mhm.
55 pounder. No
Right.
one's shown that they could do that. If you know anybody that can do that, there are people who would pay them money to see that. I mean, that is an unbelievable, it'd be like feat of the year.
Right.
So, so that is one of my big goals, is to build my body. And the reason people don't get there is it's going to take so long.
Mhm.
It's not that it's impossible. It's that I mean, dude, it might take me 6 more years on top of what I've already invested. But I think I'll still be alive in 6 years. So when I get there, I should be ready.
Yeah, I'm sure you could
Um,
do it.
we'll
Have you
see.
seen sorry, the Lucas Raymond's Arm Assassin plate curl trainer? It's like a loadable type of apparatus.
So what that is his version of what came first from Ryan Pitt's Stronger Grip. He made that. I mean, I got my first pinch lever block in 2007, like right at the end of the year. Ryan had a pretty simple model, and then he came up with a couple different sizes. And over the years, he's probably sent me 4 or 5 different models of them. And it's the same thing. Some of them are wider, some of them are thinner. Some of them have a really slick, glossy paint to make it really hard to hang on to. And then a
Mhm.
couple of my filed. So I've got actually a number of those. And it's a key way to get there because let's say, you can do a 10, but you can't do a 25. Well, you put the 10 on the lever block. So the closer the weight is to your fingertips, the relatively easier it will feel.
Mhm.
If you slide it down the horn using 2 locking collars, 10 pounds out here feels much, much harder from here.
All right.
So the way that a bunch of people would close the gap would be using a leverage approach instead of just trying to jump 25. It's a similar problem for people if they wanted to go iron mine yellow nail, iron mine blue nail, iron mine red nail. The yellow to blue is not a particularly hard jump. It's only an inch cut down to the same stock. Have you tried a red nail yet, buddy?
I have bent like maybe like 3 blues. I don't bend that often because I feel like I'm so beat up all the time. I've bent 3 blues before. Actually, yeah, I remember I did a yellow 1 month and I felt like it was pretty hard. Then the next month I just randomly bent the blue and it was like it
It
was
was
pretty
almost the same,
yeah,
right?
it was pretty easy. And I haven't even attempted a red yet just because I've been arm wrestling so much. But
Adam, what did you think the first time you picked up that red nail in your hands?
I thought it was yeah, I thought it would take years of investment, and I have a gold nail right here too. And this is, dude, this is like legit something you could like bolt into like a railroad or something. It is.
Right, right.
I don't have a yellow nail with me, but bending the yellow nail and putting it up to this, like I was so proud of the yellow nail, and I'm happy with it. But like compared to this, it's
Yes.
ridiculous.
Yes.
Here's the
Very nice. So I'll give you an example on that. So if you want to go from blue to red, here's how you do it. The next thing you're going to go find is 6 inch by 1/4 inch grade 5 bolts. You're going to know it's a grade 5 because it's going to have a cap on it. When you look at the cap, it's going to have 3 hatch marks, like 1, 2, 3. Okay, that indicates a grade 5. When you can bend those, cut it from 6 to 5.5. When you can bend those, you're going to go get the 6 inch by 1/4 inch grade 8 bolt. Okay, you're going to know it's an 8 because it has 8 hatch marks and they're typically gold in color. The
okay.
1/4 inch grade 8 and the red nail, sometimes they look like they're this kind of jump,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes they're like this. Some batches of reds will come in and we'd say they feel softer, and some are harder. But most grade 8s, especially along a given manufacturer, they're very consistent because they're rated to a certain strength. So the grade 5 to grade 8 to red nail jump is probably what the mathematical highest percentage of men that have ever been a red nail did it in.
So
You
grade
know,
5 into a grade 8. That's a progression from blue, grade 5, grade 8 to red.
that's exactly right.
Okay.
Now, if you feel stuck between blue and grade 5, go find you some 1/4 inch CRS, cold rolled steel. You'll get
Okay.
it in 12 or 20-foot pieces. They'll cut it for you at the shop. If you go to the welding shop, you can tell them, hey, I want 2 of those sticks and just lop them off to 6 feet for me or whatever. At
Okay.
that size, bro, you could take normal lock cutters and then just have a strip wherever you bend at. You cut it with your lock cutters to get it down to length real easy. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah,
That works
yeah,
out
yeah.
well the way.
I've only got nail bags from Iron Mind and the FBBC.
FBBC.
Yeah, so I've gotten the beginner bags that I'm excited because, and I have friends that could first day closed the blue, and I was like super shocked because the yellow I couldn't do on my first day. And I have a guy out here, Dan Splendoria, who has closed like the red nail. I watched him in person close the red nail, and I was like mind blown. Like, and then he snapped like a yellow nail, and it was like burning. It was super hot. Like
Yes, yes.
that's the coolest party trick to me. That's the coolest party trick with card tearing. Like snapping the nail. People in the arm wrestling practice were like, they couldn't believe what happened. That was crazy.
And I'll tell you, it's like a good 60 penny nail or a blue nail or a yellow nail, blue nail. I'm using them interchangeably there. To snap that quarter inch steel, you're going to have to work it quite a bit. And a lot of folks, especially when you talk about arm wrestling community, you're going to find some guys that they've got the strength to bend. They might not know how to do it yet, but they're strong enough to do it. So bending the bar is one level, and hey, that's awesome. But I'll tell you, when we talk about break that bar in half, that's a whole different kind of strength.
So what would you say if you could bend a red? Can you snap? Usually, can people who could bend a red can snap a yellow or blue? Like, what's the kind of standard that you see in grip guys?
That is a good question. So I will tell you, the guys who can bend red nails, it will depend how they're doing the bend, number one. So for example, if you can do the Iron Mind red nail in the Iron Mind blue pads, and I mean you just take the pad, roll it around the nail, grab it and bend it, not packing chalk in it, not like making a lot of like just the normal wrap. If you can bend that, I guarantee you could break a yellow nail. Now, how you do it is going to decide like how well it goes, because there's a lot of ways. Generally speaking, you're going to break any nail by doing one thing. You're going to move it in one direction, and then you're going to take it back to some degree. Now, good snappers are probably doing more of a moderate motion that they can go fast on. So they hit it and they hit it and they hit it. So you don't want to bend it all the way down. So I would bet that some people may be able to snap bars that are disproportionately harder than you would assume, because they're able to hit very powerful lever points where they can keep it moving. Because as long as you keep the steel moving, it will eventually break.
So it's about time under tension, not as much as how many times you simply go back and forth, right?
Well, now here's the part of that. So like, okay, so one of the best guys at breaking nails here in the USA is a guy named Don Cummings. Don can break gold nails.
Oh my goodness.
And he does it pretty quick considering what we're talking about here. You know what I mean? It's not taking him like 2 hours or something. He's doing it in minutes. Now, Don is so powerful that he will hit that bar so hard, so fast, crush it down, rip it right back open, crush it down. So he is strong enough to keep generating force. Now, if you were bending a bar that was, so for him, that's not his high level. If you watch him do a high level, what you might see Don do is hit it, and then he's got to gather himself again, and then he hits it again and he moves it a bit, and then he might have to wait and then hit it again. So the stronger you are, the more times you're going to be able to move that steel per moment, and that will decide how quickly it'll break.
Okay. Is anyone close to certifying on the gold nail, the Iron Man gold nail?
Hell no. And then think about that too, is if there's anybody in the world right now claiming to be the strongest steel bender, the reminder is big goose egg right there on the gold nail list. Because the gold nail's a thing, and because Iron Mind has established themselves as one of those credentialing companies, and we all agreed to it, the thing is that no one can say they're the strongest bender when there's a gold nail list and nobody's on it. It's the most stringent bending certification right now, in the perspective of it's the least amount of padding. So the guy who bends the gold nail under their rules, which it is humanly possible, that person would be, in my mind, that's like the strongest steel bender right now. It would be hard for me to listen to anybody say that they think they're the best in the world if they're not the gold nail bender right now. Just like you go back 20 years, if your name was not on the red nail roster, you couldn't say that you were a good bender. You know, and there was a time, it was a long stretch before people started getting on it. Even now, I mean, you think about how many thousands of people are aware of it. Look at how short that roster is. Adam, for you, dude, I'll tell you, it's a great goal to set for yourself over 5 years. At some point, I'm going to get my name on that roster.
Right.
Because it's you doing a thing that all those people had to do the same thing. I think it's coming up to that standard.
So you don't foresee anybody doing it soon. There's no one on the. No, that's crazy.
Okay,
Wow.
now the part about that is though, bro, is like I'm not knowledgeable enough about how the scene looks right now to really be able to say. Like I got my buddy Rob. Rob would be able to tell you who can do it. Rob has told me that there's a guy in Russia who is doing some. No idea. I don't really look in. I'm more interested mostly in the grip competition side
Right.
in terms of kind of who I keep my eyes on. There's a whole bunch of guys that they're phenomenal steel benders, and I don't know you guys, but it doesn't mean that you're not awesome. It doesn't, I'm just a nobody, right? I don't follow it personally, but there's got to be somebody.
Right.
I'll tell you what, when I see some of these guys right now that are bench pressing 6 and 7 and 800 pounds, just think about how much pressure that would be on your body, right? I'm pretty confident that if you could get somebody like, oh man, who's that dude that does like 700 raw?
The Russian guy. There's a guy
No,
called
no, he's an American guy.
American 700 Raw. There was Eric Spotto, but he's injured.
Okay, Spotto's a great example,
There's
actually.
Julius Maddox.
Julius, okay,
Yeah.
okay, you look at Julius Maddox, you look at those arms, the wrist, all that power. If there's anybody who's bending steel and you think you're stronger than Julius because you can bend a bar that you think he can't, dude, I could spend 20 minutes on my patio drinking a beer talking to Julius, and I could show him how to bend a nail. And I bet Julius could probably bend a gold nail within 2 weeks of trying. Like no
Oh
shit.
my god.
Because and I say that because his wrist, he's always supporting crushing weight all the time. For some guys, what's going to slow them down to getting some like the gold nail is how much pressure it's going to take here. It's going to take time to grow in. Dude, a guy like Maddox, he's already got all the horsepower. He's already got all the bone growth. I think right off the bat, there's definitely guys that could do it. The question is number one, would they ever have an interest in any of it? And then number two, you got to remember, you're going to somebody and saying, hey, here's like literally the hardest thing that these guys like to do. Is that something you'd want to train to as well?
Mm.
Like, it'd be one question if you or I were kicking around, could we slam dunk a basketball? But it wouldn't mean that, assuming we ever decided we want to slam dunk a basketball, I'm not now planning on going to a contest to see if I can do anything with it. So we'll see. We'll see if we get it. But somebody's going to do it, bro. Somebody's going to do it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but how would big benching, if the force is going downward to the elbow, how would that correlate if the nail is on here and it's more of like
I'm simply using that as an example that
I see,
Julius
okay.
Maddox is so much stronger than all of us who bed steel. Like all of us guys don't think that you're stronger than Jules because of how he can train.
Okay, I see. I
Like
get it.
I would totally assume if that guy got into bending, he would show everybody how a real dude fucking bends. And like it would be Spotto's a great example. Dude, if Spotto had any interest in bending steel, is there anybody out here that thinks that his like 22-inch arms couldn't crush steel bigger than those of us that are, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Interesting. Okay. And there are
no, dude,
videos of him going up to Walmart and rolling like pans. Is pan rolling? Have you seen him do that?
well, I've done the same thing. There's a couple ways to do it. So if you grab a pan and just fold it over, I mean, hey, you bent the pan. Is it hard? Well, for a really big guy, if he pins the pan on his hip and puts one arm on it, just him leaning over it will cave it.
Okay.
But hey, that's a thing. I'm sure people thought that was cool.
It's just
A
kind
lot
of
of
like,
times
sorry.
you'll see the feat done a lot of times where you take the pan and what you do is you crush the lip and you start to roll. So the final product is the pan has been curled inside of itself. I have YouTube videos of me doing that. It shows in rooms full of people. It gets a huge reaction from them. Now, how hard is that? Well, you've seen me plate curl a 45. Curling a 45 is 150 million% harder than rolling any pan that you've ever seen anybody roll.
So it's kind of like phone book tearing in a sense.
Same thing. And the thing
okay.
is about it, hey, phone book tearing. Well, okay, it certainly it takes strength to do it, but not all things are comparable. Like bending any size horseshoe is probably harder than tearing any phone book you've ever seen. Now, I'll tell you what's never been done, but no one has ever tore a ream of printer paper. That to me would be like the apex. If you wanted to show everybody that you were the best dude who could tear shit up, if this would be the video, hey man, walk right into Office Max or Office Depot. It's right there by the door. Grab the ream, pay the lady in front of everybody, just tear it in half. It's never been done. If you could do that, dude, if you could do that, we then need to get you into Brazilian jiu-jitsu and arm wrestling, because you're going to be tearing people apart with that arm.
You mean like a package printer paper? Like
a Reba printer paper, my man. No one is like you think about it. Some phone books. So I had phone books that people would bring me when my gym was in Minnesota. And they were so big that I could only get my fingertips on. I mean, it was super thick, and I would go through it in one hit, like just okay, because it's hard, but it's not that hard if you're strong. But if I grab a Rima printer paper right now, dude, it ain't going nowhere. That would be the feat of feats. If somebody really wanted to get into tearing up stuff, that would be what I'd tell you to do. Hey, can I tear through a 1/4 inch of it? Can I tear through a 1/2 inch? Especially, you can control how thick a paper you have. But if you wanted the strength that would come with that feat, because Adam's kind of a dead feat. When was the last time you saw a phone book that was thicker than that?
Right.
Because because of cell phones, why do I even need a phone book, right?
True.
But if somebody wanted the strength that people were getting back when there were phone books to tear, I would say, hey man, get printer paper, start with this much. The advantage of it is, like, unlike phone books would really get floppy after a tear, but with printer paper, hey, you could just go down a third and go down a third, and then you could grab it with your thumbs and tear it all up. You have total arm training right there.
Right. Okay. How about this feat? I actually saw this. It's actually from an anime. The guy has unreal strength in his fingers, and he, instead of tearing the cards, he actually just, with his thumb and he could just like pull down, and he would like get a chunk out of the full stack cleanly. Is that possible?
So that is not possible if it would be like real good plastic coated cards, like bicycles. If you wanted to see that done, here's what you'd need. You'd need a mechanical press. So like a hydraulic part that's going to get right. Now, here's what can be done. And I've done this, and you'll see other guys who are pretty good at doing it. So you've got your deck of cards, like we'll just use my phone cover. So imagine if I tore right here, and then I tore right here, and then I tore from line to line. It would look like that I took my thumb and just pulled it out. And the rip is clean. Like, it really does. So my buddy Dave Whitley calls it a shark bite, which I kind of like that, because that's what it looks like. And I'd be holding that. Now, the thing is funny is, if I did that and I showed you exactly how I did it, but then I gave you the deck of cards and the stub, if you turned around and told somebody, bro, he just grabbed it and ripped it out of the deck, they would believe it based on how the deck looks. So the thing is this, there are people who will swear to God they've seen somebody do that. And what they think they saw and what they're remembering is they think they did that. But what they actually did was they tore the deck, turned it around, they tore the deck, and then they worked the side out. That's how you do that, tear. It's okay. Do that. There's no way to fake it that I'm aware of, unless somebody did something to play with the cards. Like, they got cards they found at their grandma's house and they're 50 years old. Those will tear different.
Okay. The next question is kind of going back to you and general stuff about yourself. Are you into anything besides grip, strength, arm wrestling? Do you have any other interests, or is that like
athletic or outside of athletics?
Anything. It could be anything.
Oh, guys, I love to cook. I absolutely love to cook. I cook the majority of meals in my household. So yesterday, for our King Kong location, we had an arm wrestling super match that was going on. I had like 35 people here.
Oh, wow.
I made them crock pot of chili. I make them brisket. I make them sweet potato. I love to cook for people. I really enjoy leadership and development. For those who want to be developed and for those who are looking to level up, there's a lot of things that they can do. And I've enjoyed for years now helping other people accomplish things that they want. And, it's funny. So I don't have some crazy business pedigree from this school or that school. What I have is, here's the craziest shit. You ready for this? Somehow some guy in his garage in North Dakota at the time, in the freezing ass cold, on like the oldest digital camera you could have, went from posting videos of him tearing decks of cards and bending nails, mostly because I was kind of bored. Like, I was doing kettlebell work that I didn't show. Like, I just do the stupid work, but I was doing that for fun. And somehow that's translated to where I've had personal training clients come out of it. I've had group training clients come out of it. I've had so many things come out of it. Because if somebody said, well, how could I do what the things you do is? The amazing thing is I didn't have a plan. I was just doing what I wanted to do.
Right. Right.
I never thought anybody in the world would watch a lot of the videos I've ever put up because I was using it like an archive. That's what's funny to me is for those of you guys who want to do something crazy with your life, you really just need to do stuff and the crazy will come. Like if you're holding back and waiting because you don't have the plan, you're not doing it right.
Right. Okay.
No plan, you just do things and things happen.
Cool. And quickly about the kettlebell, what's the cool, like I see you do the super heavy swings.
Yes, sir.
What else, what other kettlebell feats of strength would you say are just like up there or really cool or super difficult? I don't really
So
know too much
for
about kettlebells.
so the thing, guys, if you've never seen a kettlebell, you never lifted one, handle. So with the kettlebell, there's a particular kind of shoulder press you can do that we call a bottoms up press. And what you're doing there is normally when someone presses a kettlebell, the handle will be here and the weight will be here. So it'd be hanging off my arm and I press it. And that feels really good. It kind of pulls you into a better position. The bottoms up press, when you bring it up, the body of the kettlebell's here, you're holding it by the handle and you press it overhead. It is pretty freaking tough. I have done a 106-pound kettlebell weighing under 210. I've done the 88 kilo kettlebell for sets of 10. I've done 32 kilo, which is 70 pounds, 70-pound kettlebells for sets of 20. I think bottoms up pressing will make you strong as shit.
Wow.
I
Okay.
think it's a cool feat. I really like how that one has done a lot for me over the years. If you've ever seen people do the kettlebell juggling, where they're making it flip and they're making it spin and they're catching it behind their back, I think all that is awesome. It develops athleticism, it develops coordination, and you cannot get bored doing it.
Right.
Like if you've got the bell and you start to figure out like, oh man, I can make it turn and I can make it helicopter and I can make it rotate this, you cannot get bored doing that. So kettlebells are pretty cool. I recommend them.
Yeah. Okay. I'll check that out. Okay. Here are some big questions, like the meat and potatoes here. Can you just explain grip training and how you approach it? It could be like, do you like your split? It could be how, like, what do you think of it and how it compares to other forms of training modalities? Like just in your, like, are you like a purist in a sense? Like, would you say that rock climbing is grip training, or would it have to be a specific, like, how do you describe grip training in general?
So the thing is about grip training is like okay, so in on a guitar, there's 5 or 6 strings, right? There are
Mm.
5 string guitars or 6 string guitars. And yet you can make all these different sounds with it if you know how to hit different notes. And I don't know music, but I understand there's only a couple of notes. It's not that many. And yet look at all the sounds. Here are your hands. From here going up, you have the most joint articulations that you can do with your entire skeleton. Like even you look at your feet, you can do a lot of things with your feet, but that is nothing compared to this. So I say grip training and grip sports or things involving grip, it's something where the make or break point of the activity is centered primarily from here up. So
Okay.
for example, if you deadlift, you train every single muscle of your body. If a guy, and if a guy can deadlift, 700-800 pounds, he's training his hands incredibly strongly, right? But the position he's in, it's really only this position. Well, probably like that position all the time.
Mm.
Well, the amazing thing is if you expand the diameter to this, it completely changes it. Like the world record of the deadlift, it's been an exciting year for deadlifts. The world record deadlift keeps going up. I mean, it's an amount of weight now that's unbelievably heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But the world axle deadlift overhand, even though the barbell deadlift is like approaching like 1,120 pounds or something, the axle world record is like 530-ish.
Oh
There's a couple
wow.
people
Yeah.
who dispute it, but it's only 530-ish. Most men who can deadlift 500 and 600 pounds pretty easily on a barbell can greatly struggle with 350. Seeing a 400-pound double overhand axle lift on like the Iron Mind. So the Iron Mind bar is what we contest with, guys. There are a lot of gyms across the world that have axles, but the thing is the Iron Mind bar, it's exactly 2 inches, exactly 50 mils, and it's very slick. So some people have lifted a lot of weight on the axle, but it was a different size than 2 inches or it had a texture paint. The contest bar that we use for our leagues, on that bar, seeing 400 pounds lifted is rare.
Mm-hmm.
If you go around your bro, where you at? Did you say you're in Nevada? Is that right? Arizona?
No, I live in the suburbs of Chicago.
Chicago. That's okay. Hey, that's a great example. There's so many gyms in Chicago. If you bar into Chicago and you went to 15 different gyms Saturday, you hit the gym when the big dudes are in there getting down, you would be astonished how many guys are easy 600, 700 pound deadlifter and they will struggle to get a 400-pound axle lift.
Hmm.
Strongman competitors, we see a lot more of them do well for early 400s, but it's wild because these guys will, 450 just shuts down most people in the world. And yet you close their hand or grip isn't a factor. And these guys are like human forklifts. So I say all that because here's the deal. There's so many ways that you could train your hands. There's so many ways that we use hands in sport. I don't think anybody has the pure way or the right way. Guys will tend to get different styles, and this is what it'll be. So some people are going to be influenced by marketing. So like if you read a lot of Iron Mind material, it's going to seem like for grip training, you need Iron Mind equipment, of course. If you're someone who came up climbing, what you would associate to grip training would look 100% different than what I do. If you're someone who came up and say you were a wrestler, what you would call grip training would be very different than say what I do.
Okay.
So the thing is that the grip training that matters for the individual is whatever we can do from here to give you maximum advantage in your sport. And then if you were to compete in grip as a sport, because we do steel bending contests, that's a thing that happens. We have different types of grip meets and such. There's several organized leagues around the world. And what you'll see is they are all different. Like in the USA, the most established league is GSI, which used to be called NAGS, which used to be called something else. Like it gets rebranded, but the doctrine and more or less the application of how they do their contest has kind of taken a shape. Well, there's another league, Arm Lifting USA. That's the league I lift in most often.
Mm-hmm.
In that league, it looks more like powerlifting with funny shaped bars. So if you saw it, it would make sense to you. It's like, okay, these guys are deadlifting weights to lock out. There's a judge judging if it was a good or bad lift. So I get what I'm seeing. There are like in Europe, there are all kinds of different leagues. The Europeans have probably, almost like 100 different types of grip challenges that they can test over there. So we see it expressed in different ways in different places. And what I will tell you is that there are so many ways to be strong. Don't get it in your head that in order to have a strong grip, you have to do this or you have to be this. It could be a lot of different things
Right. That makes
that
sense.
we'd call a strong grip.
Okay. And so this is a question from Instagram. What are if you were to pick like 3-5 movements that would have to try to encompass, like in powerlifting, you have squat, bench, deadlift.
Yes.
What were there some of the, I don't know, benchmark or key movements that you would say for any grip guy that wants to be like you or be really strong in grip? What are those movements that you
Absolutely. So number one, guys, is I would have you doing double overhead lifting on either an axle bar or fat grips. I love fat grips. I use fat grips probably almost every session. I use the black ones. I use the blue ones. I use the orange ones. And the other thing is, Adam, when I say fat grips, so I'm saying it the same way that everybody calls a paper, a tissue paper Kleenex. Like fat grips is the established brand, but I really mean any rubber slip-on cuff. Like I saw cuffs the other day. There's a sporting goods store here called Academy down in Texas. They have for $5 these slip-on barbell cuffs that is just a knockoff of a fat grip. It's $5. I mean, shit, buy that and throw it in your bag. Just play with it from time to time. So that's a great thing to have. Those cuffs are awesome. You can use them on machines. You can use them on handles, barbells, dumbbells. The limit is your imagination. Number two is some kind of way to do a heavy two-handed pinch lift. Now, this could be as primitive as go to your gym and grab two 45s or 35s that are smooth right on one side, turn them where the smooth side is out, take a bar, just have like a 1.9 bar, run it right through them, put a set of collars on, and now you can grab it and squeeze and you can do lifts with it. And you can deadlift it, you can hold it for time, you can walk it around, you can do high pulls and rows, curls, whatever you want. But training this motion is very important. I recommend, Adam, that people train two-handed one-handed pinching, because if you're only going to be able to do this much time of a specialization for the thumb, let's do the heavy one.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is I would tell them that it is very useful to do the plate curls and the plate wrist curls like we already talked about today. The fourth thing I would tell them that they really, really should work on is going to be their supination and their pronation. I think the best way to do that is the way that arm wrestlers do it, which will involve putting a strap through your hand, then turning the strap over the side of the hand, attaching weight, make a fist, and now it's trying to supinate you. So you pronate against it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can turn the strap. Devin Laird has probably put out 50 videos showing it.
Right.
Really, you look at any arm wrestling channel, if the guy's a serious arm wrestler, he's probably got videos of him doing pronations and pronation curls, and there's a bunch of ways to set it up, but that really works well.
And
bro, yes, sir.
Sorry, does that transfer? I mean, I could see it transferring to nail bending. What other types of grips would that, like any grip movement that where supination and pronation are really key? Like what are some movements where supination and pronation are really needed?
Almost all of them. I mean, if you think about it, so let's say I want to apply a lot of force this way. So I'm pinching something right in front of me. So you can imagine 2 plates. The more torsion that I can create on the contact surface, the more power I can put into it. So here's the difference between me and you. When you guys go to pinch something, you guys kind of try to do this, right? You're thinking of doing this and you're thinking of doing this. When I grab the object, I'm squeezing through all parts of my hand and I'm twisting and spiraling in all parts of my arm.
Oh, okay.
So when I go to do a 2-hand pinch, I'm doing one of 2 things. Sometimes I'm turning pressure in this way, as if driving both of my fingers like that. And sometimes I'm pulling my hands like this. So I'm creating spiralic pressure through the implement.
Okay.
So pronation and supination are very important. The other thing, and here's the deal, guys, if you ignore those, you'll get elbow problems over time. So your wrist has 4 ranges of motion. If you only train the flexing part, and I get it, that's the part that makes your forearms meaty over time. That's good. You have to train the other parts. So 4 motions here. Well, what about the elbow? The elbow, it flexes and extends. We all love curls and tricep pushdowns, but what else does the elbow do? It pronates and supinates your arm. And if you guys look at anatomy textbooks, it'll start to make more sense to you. Why do I need to train these things? Because if you get too strong in one part of the arm, it will overpower the joint and you'll lose range of motion, you'll have pain, you'll develop weakness, and you will get hurt. Guys, we all know this. We all knew that guy that his gym program was 5 days a week, he bench pressed. And for the first couple of years, that was working out well, dude. His shoulders were getting bigger, his triceps were getting bigger, his chest was getting bigger, but he keeps going and going, and pretty soon he starts to get the bench guy posture. What's going on there? What happens is all this tissue in the front of his body has become so thick and so strong, his body is being pulled into a certain position continuously because the muscles behind him are not strong enough to take it back. So specialization is always required, but if we over specialize and we go too far, we're going to have joint problems, and these problems do not get better from rest time. So Adam, if you were to go and you were to never train pronation and supination, but you do tons and tons of curls, all the time curls, the first thing that'll happen is you'll start to get some problems at the back of the arm. And if you ignore them and keep going, you'll eventually hit a point where your arm won't be able to straighten out. So you guys have seen that, where I know bodybuilders that their arms are freaking ginormous, but they can't extend their arms. And a lot of those guys will tell you they have wrist and elbow pain a lot of parts of the year. And also you'll get shoulder pain. Why shoulder pain? Because all the tendons that cross here are connecting and anchoring up here. So if this is having a problem, you're going to see problems here. You're going to see problems here. That's how that shakes out.
Now that I think about it, when I see people lift from different handles, they do kind of start in a already pronated position, and then they kind of, like, the whole stack kind of spins. Like, yeah, you're right. There is a spiral force being produced when they're lifting like that. Okay. And that's super cool. I learned a lot right there about the whole pronation, supination. Wow. Okay.
Train it, my man. Hey, for your arm wrestling, here's the thing too, bro. It's going to cut down the pain that you're feeling after your practice sessions.
Mhm.
So if you're finding that you're in a lot of pain, there's a couple things we're going to need to do to help you out. One of them might be to make sure that you're learning how to properly back pressure instead of trying to rotate. Like if you just grab someone's arm and you think arm wrestling is internal rotation,
Yeah.
you're going to get your arm broke by somebody, one. And then number two is you're going to hurt so terrible. It's going to be so like you, for those of you that ever arm wrestled someone who's strong and like pulled hard for the day, the pain of arm wrestling is the most uncomfortable sensation I've had. Besides, in 2015, I had a molar. Like, so I didn't get my molar. You can get them out before then, please do that. It is fucking terrible to be over 30 because you heal slower. Well, I'd had like a little piece of beef jerky get stuck back in this stupid molar that was coming in sideways instead of up. And I'm sitting on my couch on this day and I'm sweating and I'm freezing simultaneously. And I guess I was like, shit. My wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, but Ashley comes in, she's like, you look terrible. You got to go to the doctor's. And I'm just like, no, I'll be fine. So I go to bed. I wake up the next morning and my jaw felt like you hit me in the face with a sledgehammer. And then every 10 minutes you came back with a hot poker and just jammed it up in my head to torment me. And it felt so bad. They couldn't get that tooth out of my head fast enough. You know what I mean? Arm wrestling is a pain that is so similar to that, except there's nothing you're going to do once it hurts, but maybe take a bunch of Motrin or do a bunch of reps and try to get a lot of blood flow going.
Right.
So here's the deal. Get your pronation and supination strong. That's also going to help with your back pressure, elbow help. It'll change your game quickly just to get those more in a balanced state of strength.
Okay. Yeah. We started a club out here in Chicago called Tendon Clan, and we have a lot of beginners, and they're always like, yeah, it hurts, it hurts. I'm like, dude, we've all been through it. Just try not to go this way. Always just
Yep.
like if you're hurting so bad, just pull in this plane of motion and you're gonna be better. Yeah.
The other thing I'll tell you guys is, hey, I'm a new guy at this sport, but I will tell you an observation that's worth listening to. Don't spend times in losing positions when you don't even know what's going on yet. Right. So if you're at practice and right off the bat, they take your hand and you're at this angle here and you kind of think you can post back and fight them, you just let the guy have it, reset, start again. It's like in jiu-jitsu. If you jump on me right away past my guard and you lock up my arm, and we're supposed to be drilling, guard passes today, I'm not then gonna fight you and see if I'm just gonna give you the arm and go, and let's reset.
Right.
I need to stop you from passing. So in that way, like you guys who are arm wrestling, you probably need what I think I need, and I'm probably a lot better conditioned to be starting than maybe you are. In my practices, I spend a lot of my time just setting up with the dude, pulling back into pressure, and I'll go 8 or 9 seconds, let them see if because one of two things usually happens, right? Because I'm a new guy. I either had the angle right away and now I've got you and you're probably not getting away unless we're going to do a big fight over it, or you've got me. So if you get me right away in a transition, I'll try to get out of it when I'm here. As soon as I move into losing angle, I'm probably just going to give it up and let's reset. Hey, you got me, whatever. The fighting out of the shit positions as a new guy where you don't know what you're doing, that's what makes it hurt so bad. Like one of the things I saw a guy do, I let him practice. I could tell this guy's arm was hurting when I got there, and it was only the first 20 minutes. I could see him just rubbing on it. Well, he kept getting caught by this guy, and he would get peeled way open super fast, and he'd be to here, and he was just trying to crank, and it's like, stop, dude, just stop there and reset. He thinks I'm stopping him because it's like a broke arm thing. No, dude, he already beat you. As soon as he opened you this way, you were beat. So give it up, start again. So don't fight out of the losing position so much in the beginning as much as like learn the actual science of it, because it's as technical as any other wrestling you've ever seen.
I agree with that. Do you have a fifth movement, or was that?
Yes. So the fifth one is that for everybody who's doing grip stuff, in my opinion, is do more pull-ups with various grips of all types and varieties. Universally, rock climbers are just phenomenal. Just pound for pound, they're always phenomenal with their grip. And of course, there are things that they're getting into that from those of us of other sports is like, holy shit, I don't think my hand could do that. It is not to say that rock climbing is the best path, because it depends once again on what do you think is got a good grip. But definitely different types of pull-ups on ropes, on your fingertips, hanging from things on fingertips, grabbing different handles, trees, ropes, any kind of bouldering challenge that's within the level of fitness that you're at. You know, like, hey man, it might just be trying to hang on a weird section of brick for 3 seconds, right? Anything that you guys do with that over time, if you're consistent, will make a big difference in grip. Even, I mean, Adam, I think towel pull-ups, and we've all got a towel probably. You know, roll your towel up, throw it over the bar, and here's the deal. If that just feels so easy that you're like, I don't know if it's working my grip, no big deal. Put both ends of the towel into one hand and then grab your wrist. So almost everybody, if you can do 2 pull-ups, you can probably do pull-ups this way. It's really not that much harder unless you don't have the grip. So taking a thick ass towel and just grabbing with one hand, grabbing your own wrist. This is now still a 2-arm pull-up, but now we're going to find out if your grip's good. That is a phenomenal way to develop your grip. There was actually a book that was called Convict Conditioning. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I haven't.
So it was really well received when it came out, and it was kind of the stylized motif behind the program is, you know, supposedly this guy was in prison for all these years and he got jacked in prison doing calisthenics. I don't know, but his grip progressions were actually very solid, and it primarily centered around a towel and a pull-up bar. So at the first level of his program would be maybe someone's 2-hand hanging on a relatively easy towel. Over time, over his progression steps, it works you down to where you'd be taking 3 towels, rolling them up, grabbing it with one hand and hanging. Dude, that's it. You get to the point where your hand is that open and you're squeezing on it. That's gonna be taxing you. So a simple towel hanging for a lot of you guys, it would really make a measurable difference in your grip over 6 months. But Adam, that's the key. Because this is tendon and ligament based and bone structure based, it's okay. Like, you'll see people who put on 100 pounds on their back squat in 6 months. You know what I mean? Because it's the biggest, strongest muscles. These little muscles, dude, it just takes time. You guys got to be patient. It's going to be slower than you wish it would. And all I can tell you is, remember what I said earlier. I think that the 25 kilo curl is going to take me 6 years. I plan on being alive in 6 years. I'm going to do the work. That's what I recommend for you. Plan to be there to win.
I like that. Okay. Here we go. This is my favorite question today, because I love this question right here. Is if you were to make the most efficient like split or periodization, how would you arrange your week? Like, if you had to say all the time in the world, no job, you have a perfect home gym. Like, what would your training be like? I know people that like Devin Lara, he works out like throughout the day, like a few sets every day. How would you make the perfect split to become the best, strongest hands in the world?
So there's going to be 2 elements to it that's going to make it work. The first thing is you're going to need to organize the months of the year into blocks of time. And what I mean by that is there's going to be certain times that you're going to be working in particular directions. And then you are going to have to calm that down and work the opposite directions for periods of time. So like, here's the deal. Whenever I'm doing a lot of heavy plate curls, like I'm in that plate curl block right now, when I come out of it, you'll see me doing very, very, very heavy pressing and supporting things. The other way I could say this is, it was in order to set up the plate curl growth blast that I'm experiencing today. If you guys go back and you look at my Instagram from 6 months ago, heavy bent pressing every session, heavy Turkish get-ups every session, heavy dumbbell work all the time. Why? What was I preparing myself for? Bench press meet? No, I'm doing exactly the opposite of that. I'm preparing myself to have good tissue for this. So I did a lot of this for a period of time. So that's the first element, Adam, is they're going to have to change the blocks as the year unfolds, because as you grow and get better in this direction, we're going to have to come back through and balance in this one. Now that's for longevity. Some of you don't agree with that. The thing is that the people who are competing against me in 2010, most of them have had to quit from injury. And then there were the guys I lifted against in 2013. A bunch of them had to quit from injury. And now there's the group of guys I'm lifting with in 2020. How many of them will still be lifting in 10 years? No matter what excuse we make on why we're not competing, most of the time, the falling off point is we got hurt. It derailed training. And then you start evaluating, why am I doing this? Do I want to go back? Blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. So longevity is so important to make it to that point. Now, the other thing that I do for my training is I would not have a schedule in the way that you guys think. If we're going off that context where it's like, hey, I'm like a pro athlete, like I could just lift whenever I want. Well, that's actually exactly what I would do. So for me personally, like I do shit in the morning. I'm really bad at trying to lift in the morning. If I have to get up at 4 to lift at 5, I have bad performance compared to get up at 6. By 1 p.m., 2 p.m., I'm really feeling like I'm hitting on all cylinders. I've been awake for a while. I'm hydrated. I've probably had some food. This session goes really good. So one of the things right off the bat is I would move it only to the point where you train when you think you're at the strongest part of that day. And the only way to know that is to be there. So assuming I had flexibility like that, okay, cool. Then I'm only going to train what makes the most sense. Next, I would only train the things that were moving along within that block quite well that day. So like if I walk in the gym and I make a fist and this feels sore and shitty, like we did a grip contest yesterday and then we did hours of lifts afterwards. Today I'm pretty sore. What I'll do today is mostly cable work, pulling on cables, moving strands, all that kind of silly shit. But that's what will feel the best today. Tomorrow, it'll probably go real well to do anything that's not like what I did Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I already know what that will be. So I would be looking at what I have not done recently, and I would just work my timing of the day to where I was always hitting it at my strongest. So and like I said, it's going to look different for every person because what they think they want to get probably looks different than me.
Are you hitting high percentages of your 1 rep max each session for grip movements?
Great question. Yes, I am. I've been doing that from the very beginning.
The idea because you're experienced. Sorry, is this because you're simply conditioned? Would you advise that to, let's say, a guy that just started?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because there's a couple of reasons why. So, for example, what gets people in trouble? Because remember, I already talked this earlier. Maxing out your grip lifts is not like maxing out your back squat or your deadlift, right? Especially because a lot of these guys are using implements that really limits the poundage. Like, have you ever seen the hub lifts people do, Adam, where they use their fingertips? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, what's the heaviest hub lift you've ever seen anybody do? Probably not even 100 pounds. Right. So if somebody can pick up a 45, but it's at their limit, I would say try to pick up the 45 every day for a couple weeks. We'll just see what happens. And this is why I know people that are dairy farmers and they go out and they milk their cows every single day, whether they want to or don't want to, because I guess it can hurt the cow's health if you don't out a day and then not milk them for 4 days and then milk. It's got to be done every day. And that is exhausting. I know, in construction, you got to show up and you got to work today. The idea that dude, Adam, a lot of personal trainers are punks. Like, you got to understand that a lot of these people just say things that they've been told and they don't know anything. Mm-hmm. You can train your hands and wrist every single day. Now, here's what you may not see, bro. I am not saying you're going to be able to max out your lifts every day and that it would look the same. So here's the deal. Like Saxon bar. I love Saxon bars, Adam. I'm obsessed with them. They're big, long, triangular shaped bars, guys. I lift a shitload of weight on them. A max lift day on one day might be at a given diameter, and I work up towards what a PR is. Right. And the next day I might be tired. So guess what? I'm not going to lift as much weight. The difference between me and some of you is this. So Adam, if last week we lifted and say I lifted 250 pounds, okay, and this week I come out and I get to 235 and it's hard, I don't have a mental breakdown. Oh man, I lifted 250 last week. I'm getting weaker. No, I just pick up 235 and then we go to the next thing. Like, I don't give a shit what the weight is. I just take my body up to the high point. Now, here's the deal. If you're someone who hears that and you're like, oh, I can't do that. Well, then you can't do that. You can't. I can. For me, let's see. I had we had the King Kong event yesterday. On Thursday, I trained. I did JM press. I did some pull-ups. I did some plate curls. On Wednesday, I went in. I did cable pull downs, face pulls. I hit some axle lifts with one hand. The day before that, I had done axle lifts for the submission for the online contest. Same thing 2 days in a row. Adam, what do you think happened the second day I did axle compared to the first? Do you think I lifted the same weight, more weight, or less
A
weight?
little bit of diminishing.
A little bit of diminishing, right? So why would I do that? Because some of these events is not just, okay, like a lot of things I do, skin conditioning matters. So I saw that yesterday. We had people who came up to the contest and they haven't done our sport before. And I could see their hands were beat to piss from their lifts. You know what I'm saying? Like your skin's got to have a certain amount of toughness to it. So I have days that I'm lifting that bar, and no, I'm not trying to get a PR number, and no, I'm not worried about what it is. I just need to squeeze this damn thing a couple times today and it'll keep going good. So that's, and guys, I'm specifically talking about if you were seeking results comparable to mine. Okay, because here's the deal, Adam. If somebody is doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and they're telling me that they're training their grip every day, I would ask them, well, wait a minute, are you drilling every day? Are you practicing your submissions every day? Because that's what wins in the sport of jiu-jitsu, right? It's grip helps, but if you're training your grip more than your jiu-jitsu and you're a jiu-jitsu player, you're doing it wrong. Which, by the way, do you know who Daniel Strauss is?
No,
he posts on IG as the Raspberry Ape.
Raspberry Ape? No, I'll check him out.
So Daniel Strauss is one of just my favorite guys to watch his training. He is a black belt jiu-jitsu competitor. He's competed in Abu Dhabi, which is the highest level of sport jiu-jitsu in some people's opinion. Dude, this guy's training, his functional training is off the charts. He does 400-pound sandbag squats. He works with all different, he works with his hands. He's a great example. If you guys are like, okay, what would it look like for a wrestler or a grappler? Look at Daniel Strauss. That's what it could look like. And there's a winning guy who's showing you a way.
Wow. Okay. I like that. Yeah, I know a lot of BJJ people. The technicality is much more important on the mat than your grip. You have someone like Gordon Ryan, who's like super young, and he just like leg locks people, right? Because he's in like the Danaher like system of like leg locking. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't think you need that much. I mean, do you need that much grip to just get in that position? It's just about speed and like BJJ.
They'll tell you they don't. No, they'll tell you no. They're going to tell you like, dude, I don't need to be strong. I'm smarter than, like the jiu-jitsu player is often smarter than his opponent. You know what I mean? Like if it took you everything you had to fight this guy, but he's responding to you with half of what he has and you're losing the engagement, you think about how advantageous that is for him. Like, so jiu-jitsu players, they're probably going to have some pretty good grip, but they probably don't use it. Most the high level guys I've rolled with, like they might apply force for 1 second. Like maybe they got their hand by yours and for 1 second, they hit you with a little movement to get your elbow to move. And now all of a sudden they're working a whole different thing. They're not, you're certainly not going to see them just grabbing and really disadvantageous.
Yeah, there's a famous chess saying. I forgot who said it, but it said that tactics flow from a superior position, and I think that's like BJJ. It's like all about positioning. Like
all about positioning.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say something, and you just tell me if you agree or disagree.
Sure, buddy.
This is a pretty common thing that I hear, and I think you already elaborated on it. Less is more for the fingers, and they're super fatigued from the CNS standpoint, meaning you cannot go heavy on them. I mean, obviously, I think I know what you're going to say here.
Yeah, well, the thing is their assumption is loaded with a couple of things. Because the first question I would have is, well, what's heavy? What is heavy? It is probably something that for the middle ground for people, more motion is what matters the most. So doing anything, like adding any amount of grip training is better than no grip training. And as you're going through levels of it, the thing is that you're intuitively going to know when things are wrong. And the thing is this, if you're somebody that you hurt yourself all the time, well, the problem is that you hurt yourself all the time. And it's going to be true of pretty much whatever you do, I guess. So what I would tell people is be intelligent about what you're doing. Like if you guys think something's dangerous, if you watch anything that I do and you think you're going to go out and do the same thing, the thing is this, is that I've built the tissue to take the consequences. Like Adam, one of the things I'm fond of is I like to hang with one arm and hold weight, and I do all kinds of dumb shit. I'll do pressing from hanging from the bar. I'll do curls hanging from the bar. Do I think that somebody should watch that video and just go do it? Nope. That's textbook dumb. You know, how many of us ever broke a bone or had a really bad road rash because you saw Tony Hawk jump off the ramp on a skateboard and thought you're going to do that too? Similar kind of thing. Um, be careful, guys, of listening to the weaklings. The weaklings are going to tell you over and over what you can't do. Man, fuck the weak people, right? It's their choice. Remember this, it is more of a choice to be weak than to be strong, because human nature is to move and play. Why are people so frustrated watching little 4 and 5-year-olds? Because what do they want to do? They want to move and run around. That's our natural state, is to be in motion.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Like, so the people who are full of all the reasons why this is not going to work and why that's bad for you, dude, here's the thing. First of all, you will die. Every one of you is going to die. You cannot live your life being afraid of that. You're also going to get hurt. Because Adam, I hear that all the time. Oh man, your hands are really going to hurt when you're old. Well, check this out. My grandfather-in-law is 88. Okay, he never did grip training a day in his life. His fucking hands hurt every day. So there we go. You know what I mean? The people who never did it, they're in so much pain too. So that's a terrible reason for you to not do what you want to do, guys. Don't listen to the weaklings.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Bulgarian training system or death march? That's it's Olympic weightlifting origin. It's where the lifters would pretty much work up to really close or a 1 rep max on their squat, clean and jerk, snatch every day. And what they saw, people call it pretty much a system where you throw all your eggs at the wall and see
you
which
weed
ones
all the weak guys out and whoever's left standing at the end, right?
Isn't that kind of what you're doing? Because essentially what happens with the periodization with that is you have 6 months where you just feel sick and terrible and your performance isn't good. But then once you rise above that and you become adapted, you could train like heavy stuff like every day.
I do plate curls every day. I did a 45 last night after the contest. I'll walk out of here after I eat dinner tonight, and I'll do a couple hits on a 45. I do it every day.
So I don't know if it's the same.
Here's my answer to that, because I like where you're going, Adam. And here's the answer, guys. Life, that is what life actually is. Life, that's life. Like for me, from military training, I always had to over prepare, and then I had to be prepared in a way to do everything when it would not be good. You know what I mean? Like you got to be able to operate when things are not good. So this idea that, I can only move my body around 3 times a week because I'm going to get nervous system and adrenal fatigue. That's bullshit. That's weakling talk. That's shit that the weaklings told you guys. They don't fucking know. And look at for yourself. Some of the strongest powerlifters and strongmen in the world are like literal doctors. These guys that they have the medical pedigree to go along with their lifting. And it's pretty amazing to me. You can, in my mind, you can tell who the good doctors are because they would all be strong. I mean, if you really knew about the body and you knew about human medicine and health, you'd reach the same conclusion that some of these guys too. They're like, oh shit, I really got to take good care of myself. Mm-hmm. So, am I advocating that to other people? Well, dude, I'm telling you, I probably don't live my life the way a lot of other people do. So I'm not advocating anything other than, guys, if you want the average result, then do the average thing, right? If you want an exceptional result, you're going to be doing things unorthodox or maybe different than other people. And the goal is not to just be unorthodox to be different. It's that when you start to look at what things will look like for you, where you're trying to go, you may discover that everywhere you look, there seems to be no path, which means now you got to create your own way.
Interesting. That's really, wow. That's really cool. So did you have a period when you first started it when you were going heavy every day, and for a period of time you just was like, man, like I feel weak, I feel dead, I have brain fatigue? Did you ever get that type of in your training where do you know what I'm talking about?
So you'll definitely see some times where like, okay, there'll be times it'd be obvious that, oh man, if I just took 3 weeks off that, anyone who's actually taken a full 3 weeks off, you know that it doesn't feel that way. Like it's a very challenging way to go through. There'll definitely be times you're gonna be more uncomfortable. There's gonna be some times that you're perhaps not gonna want to do it. The big thing that you need to be aware of is what can lead. Okay, you got to know the difference between I don't really feel like training today, and I'm so chronically overtrained that I can't train today. You guys got to you're gonna have to figure out for you what that is. There's a huge difference between my hand is sore because I trained yesterday, and I have maybe chronic finger ache for 3 weeks now that won't go away. Like that's why I told you guys, you got to be smart. Like if you're dumb, this is not going to go well for you, but life ain't going to go well for you. Like dumb people have a harder life. That's just how it is. Like if you're dumb, this is going to be hard. I do think that you figuring this out might teach you to learn other things, but most of this, bro, somebody cannot actually tell you what to do because we can only talk about where you're at right now. Like I could talk exactly about where you're at right now. And then if you go out and successfully train, the next time we see each other in say 3 months, we're now at a new place. It's a whole new conversation. Okay. So that'd be what I want people to think about is one person's experience is exactly that. It's not anything more than that in some ways. Like there are people where they might have done really well at this thing and there's something to learn from them, but don't assume that there's laws or rules or that kind of thing with it. There's many different ways to get to a top position.
Okay, so on the topic of recovery, and you have this pretty much like connective tissue, fingers, wrist, elbow.
Yes, sir.
You're when you're training, you're not, I assume since you're doing high frequency, high intensity, are you doing a decent amount of volume? Like what's your volume look like? Are you doing
that's a good question, Adam. So that will be the big flip flop. So like here's an example, guys. About every couple months, I will do a 100+ rep lift on the inch dumbbell. The best I've ever done was 206 lifts in 1 hour. I don't know anyone else has done that. If you guys have done it, show me your video because I think that's awesome. I took it and I sped it up to where it's just dun, 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 for like a 60-second video. I think it's entertaining to me. Like, man, I can't believe it because I remember the first time I ever lifted that thing. If you would have told me the first day I ever lifted an inch that one day I'd be able to lift it for hundreds of reps in an hour, I would have said, well, holy wow, I don't even know if anyone, but I can do that now. You know what I mean? If I have a day like that, here's the deal. I will train the next 4 days, but the grip training of that might be lightweight cables or speed work for something. You know what I mean? It's the max intensity for that day, not necessarily like you familiar with like the heavy duty system, Mike Metzger, that kind of thing, the guys that would do or Dorian Yates, one set to failure.
Yeah, the blood and guts. Yeah.
Guys, it's nothing like that when I say max. What I mean by that is this. If one day I go out my garage and I can easily press the 100-pound dumbbell overhead, like that feels pretty good today, I'm probably going to press the 100. If today the 70 feels heavy, I'm going to press the 70. I'm not going to try for the 100.
So a lot
obviously
of
if it feels very much auto regulation. And think about like this, Adam, do you think it'd be possible for if we had the smartest doctor in the world and the smartest nutritionist in the world, and they were about to give you a 30-day schedule of when you would pee and poop? Is that possible?
No, because it changes.
No.
Yeah.
But guys, I know, and I'm not trying to be gross on you guys, but I want you to think about that. When someone tells you that they think they can program your lifts and they couldn't even program your piss break, you know what I mean? Like no one could, because I don't know when you're going to have to take a leak next. You just handle it when it comes up, right? Well,
yeah.
Okay, that's how I view it. Like some things in life should be on a schedule. What do I mean by that? Well, I think everybody would do well to wake up in the morning and brush their teeth. It's a great way to start the day. Wake up, brush your teeth, right? So that's a good schedule to have. But I also think everything should be auto-regulated, meaning if I just came out of an Italian restaurant and I had these 3 big cheesy, garlicky breadsticks with marinara sauce, I wouldn't be hurting to go brush my teeth again before maybe we all, right? So
Right.
it's good to schedule things, and it's also good to react to the situation. And for some
Okay.
of you guys, man, don't think that you can accurately write out a couple months of training and get anything better than just okay.
A question on your training blocks when you said that you, so for your plate curls, you went heavy for a few months, and then you're going to do a lot of, so like support
Basically
type.
extension kind of work. So when
So
I'm
why
plate
not?
curling, I'm flexing and supinating. So I'm then going to have a period of time where I'm extending and pronating more. So bent press, Turkish get up, cable pull downs, that kind of thing, working oppositional.
Do you like that instead of programming them in
No,
tandem?
I don't. I totally don't like it, but that's how I do it. That's why I'm so far down the game. It's
But
boring
why not do it in tandem? Like, why not like after you bench, you do face pulls, and why not
because
after you do
it
plate curl, you do extension?
observationally it does not work as well, and it deals with. So with recovery, we could talk local recovery, we could talk systemic recovery. Um, at the local level, you have to be careful. So if you're doing a lot of grip training, that means you're probably a lot of your training is centered around elbow and wrist, right? Well, there's only so much that's good to do on it on a given day before you can really teeter towards problem area, and it's changing day to day. I personally have observed better because I've tested this. I've had times that I did my oppositional together in sessions. Now, from a bodybuilding point of view, especially you look at, hey, we know a good pump seems to help guys grow muscles because look at the guys that go and they just pump all day. It works for some of them. From a standpoint of tissue development, Adam, this is what I want you to think about. So you've got your muscle tissue, and that can grow relatively quickly. It's wrapped in fascia, which does not grow as quickly. It's connected on tendons, which does not grow as quickly. And it's anchored into the bones with ligaments, which does not grow quickly. You need to allow yourself enough time to get all the levels of tissue development. So sometimes it seems to be the body is recovering better if I'm not doing like 10 different arm exercises, if I'm only doing maybe 2 or 3.
Right.
And then at the systemic part, you're going to be limited at the end of the day by what your overall recovery looks like. So sometimes you can get away with doing things more often if you're squeezing down what the total systemic stress is. So like what I call an arm day might really be more of one flexion motion or one extension. And I'm only doing the amount of work that I feel like I really need that day. Because it seems like we can only do so much on a given day. That's right. Like Adam, what did you pay for gas last time you filled up at the tank? I paid $1.99 yesterday. What have you paid lately?
Like $60.
I'm thinking like per gallon. Do you remember what it was per gallon?
Oh, it was like maybe like 230.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. If you go to the pump and it says 230, do you go in there and say, hey guys, bill me out at 250?
No.
Do you volunteer 20 more cents?
No.
No, because the reality is I'm only going to give you the amount of money that I need to give you to get the amount of gas I need and nothing more. With training, you got to remember it's stimulus, recovery, then growth. It's only the amount of stimulus on a given day. It seems to be it's like a switch. You do enough and it flips a switch for the day, and probably doing more than that not so beneficial.
Right. I get that.
Does that make sense?
I get that. Okay, interesting. I've never seen anybody plan their training blocks where you have like the antagonist movements. That's cool.
Well, have you ever seen anybody do a pinch grip muscle up and then do a pinch grip back lever coming out of it?
I was telling my friend about that. Like, I'm like, dude, this guy like could do a muscle up on like fat pinch blocks. Like, that's unreal. Like, most people see a thing about grip is that people don't understand. Like, people like know like common gym lifts like bench and squats. So when they see like 8 cookies on each side for a squat or bench, like 5 plates, that's insane. But when you talk about grip, they're like, oh, I could close the number 3. I could do like pinch block muscle up. Like, people are like, they don't really know. But dude, if you're in the game, it's like it's so insane. It's so
Guys,
crazy.
and here's the thing about it too. Like, okay, so if we talk about like the gym lifts, bench, squat, military press, deadlift. Well, okay, I'm 37, I'm 6'2", 220. So guess what? If you just looked at me and said, compared to me to the average guy who's in the room with me at the same height and weight, I lift more weight than them. Do I outlift your favorite Instagram superstar? Of course not. but he also can do nothing that I can do. You know what I mean? Like I've specialized to a point where no, I would never fucking talk shit to like an Eric Spotto about any pressing. Not a chance.
Right.
But I would totally say, hey, Eric, you want to try some pinch pull-ups and see who wins? Just play it, boy. You know what I mean? But that's the thing is I've built my body to play a completely different game than what everyone else I saw coming up was. And even if in our sport, like we have guys who wins a given contest often is going to depend on what are the events and what are the rules. I am building up a physique that allows me to compete in a bunch of different kinds of contests and have very, very good results time after time after time after time. And sometimes longevity builds so much more momentum than one big win or the, the consequence of a big loss. Between if we go from today and we go back to November of 2018, I've probably got in 23, 24 contests. That's a lot of momentum. It's a lot of times of seeing, okay, cool. I'm getting tested. I'm getting better. I'm being tested. I'm getting better. I keep myself in that pressure cooker. Do I think other people should do that? Only if they want similar results. If you're the rare kind of person and you like to compete and when you compete, you like to win. Because like Adam, here's the deal. When people say, you're not competing against everybody else, you're competing against yourself. I never agreed to that. I'm here to beat you guys. I'm here to win, or I'm here to be shown what my placing will be. I'm looking, I look at these King Kong results. I see my placing, totally comfortable with all that because I showed up to see how am I doing with this set of rules, this set of handles on this score sheet. And that's how I roll with it. That's what I love to do.
All right. What about balancing your grip movements and interference? For example, like if you do like a heavy, like how many different, how there are 3 types of grip, like crush, pinch, support?
Oh man, there's like so many more than those.
Okay.
Absolutely. Though that's an example of 3, but there's so many different, and that's part of the problem is there are so many grips. Right. It would be hard if you said, I'm going to try to cover one of each. You'd just never get anything done. There's no way.
Do you rotate, for example, because if you go heavy on a crush movement, I'm sure that it's still going to affect your other movement that you're going to do that day. So would you rotate like your first movement crush, then the next day is first movement pinch, then the next day first movement? Is that how do you ever do that?
There's going to be 2 possible places I'm standing. So I'm either in season, and when I say in season, it means I am prepping actively for a specific contest, which means I've looked at the rules, I've looked at the events, I've decided what my performance will be. If I'm doing that, I will do one of only 2 scenarios. I'm either training individual events that day, like it's a thick handle and you pick up the handle. Okay, I'm doing that thing today. Or I'm doing the events in the contest order over and over. So let's say the contest was going to have a 2-hand lift like this, a 1-hand lift on a fat handle, and then maybe a gripper close. I'm going to have a whole bunch of sessions as we're getting closer to the meat of those 3 things.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just think about it. Let's say I had a powerlifting meet coming up. So I decided I'm going to go swim on Monday for powerlifting, and then I'm going to ride a bike on Tuesday.
Right.
You'd be like, dude, you're doing this wrong. You're going to get killed. Like you have to lift the bar. It's the same thing. So if I'm in sport, I'm doing that. If I'm out of sport, it defaults back to like we talked about. Where am I feeling strong? Where am I feeling sore? Where do I need more angles? And I just roll with it that way.
Okay. Speaking about grippers, do you have a favorite brand, and do you train these in your workout sessions? Do you pick them up in the day and just give a few close, or do you have programs?
Oh, never like that. So guys, for my sport, for Arm Lifting USA, we have a gripper event. It's called the Iron Mine Silver Bullet Hold.
I'm familiar.
Where you have this weight on a strap and you grab it with the gripper and you hold the weight for time. So as I'm approaching a meet, I will do a couple of those to familiarize myself with the event. But I don't train it the way you guys think. So I'll come back to that 1 second. We'll answer the other question. The rest of my time, so I did the Captain Crush certification back in 2010 or 11. I did the Mash Monster ladder on grip board going up to the 4th gripper, which is its own certification thing. I've done Wade Gillingham's GHP. I've done reps of the GHP 7, reps of the GHP 8. And there was a company that was in the UK called Atom Grips, ATOMZ, Atom grips. Well, I did a couple of those. So that was years ago. I don't really have interest in training it that much because I find it to be, it does not seem to help other things as much as you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
So getting really good of a gripper is kind of its own kind of strength. Just like, okay, you can be an amazing pitcher on the baseball field and you might not be all that great on a basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're both throwing a ball, but it's not the same ball. It's not the same throw. It's not the same anything, right? So I personally do not do a lot of that. Now, one of my very good friends, Steve Anderson, is one of the best gripper closers of all time right now. He's already gone beyond where so many people have ever went. Steve does a gripper workout about once every 7 or 8 days. You'll never see Steve walking around with a gripper just closing it. The guys that do a lot of that, they probably don't close very good because that one really depletes you. So if you guys like grippers, if you're into grippers and you want to do better with your grippers, it seems to be by observation of the best people, less equals more. You know what I mean? Like there's a period where there's a training time and then a lot of it drops more into testing windows. My friend Ricardo Magni, he moved his grippers up very strongly earlier this year. And he was doing it with more of a volume approach. And it was interesting it seemed like he was making better progress when he quit worrying about closing it for 8 or 9 reps. And can I go from like closing it from 1 to 3 reps and then jumping up a gripper?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so linear as that, but that was about the idea that I saw him implementing.
And it's just the nature of the movement is why it's so hard to recover from it because it's just so nuanced.
It's the, you know, like these heavy torsion spring grippers. When you guys look at like a Captain Crush 3, you know, man, in terms of difficulty to bring it from here to here is, and sometimes it can feel as fatiguing as back squatting a couple 100 pounds. And I know that doesn't make sense because obviously you're not using as much muscle, but it really drains you to give everything you have into that closing motion. I will tell you, closing the gripper is far more taxing than holding any particular bar's hand position.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when you lock into a given bar, that does not seem to be as fatiguing as actively fighting that spring.
How long did it take for you to certify on the Captain of Crush 3, right?
So what had to happen with it, it will probably not happen incidentally, guys. Like it probably won't be that if we have a couple grippers around you and every now and again you try one, you'll get it. I had to specifically train up to develop the suite for that because it's credit card's pretty wide when you're talking about that. It was a 6-month period of work. There was a 4 to 6 month period of time where I wasn't doing anything but like 1 or 2 sets per week. And then I came back into it for the close. So it took me about 1.5 years, but that's doing it the way that I do it, mm-hmm. which was slow. I had a pretty major setback. It won't show up on camera here. So you see that divot right there, mm-hmm. that thing? Mm-hmm. There was a ligament that goes through the arm. I busted that shit right off my hand when I broke a gripper in 2012. 2011. It was the end of 2011 in the fall. It was an adjustable gripper. And as I was setting it, the leg snapped. So all this spring tension went into my hand. Man, it really slowed me down. I still came back from that and closed an even heavier grip over time, but I just did it slow. I'll work it a few months here. I take some time off. I don't have to close in any particular time. It's just, I had it in my head that I'd be able to do it and then I got it done.
Okay, cool. Are you familiar with hand dynamometers like
yes. Not that particular, but yes, a variety of dynamometers.
Okay. Just I have friends like wondering, how much can you like crank on this? Like this caps at 200 for me, and I do like on my best ever was 192. Most days I could do like 100, like mid 180s around there. Like,
so I don't know what I can squeeze on one of those, and I'll tell you why. I know how to peg them on like the chiropractic ones, like the real nice, heavy, expensive ones. Right. That's a joke we have on our team. Whenever you guys see somebody post a video and they have this super high number on it, there's a thing they're doing with their hand. It's a trick. You fucking hit that thing and it'll peg that needle around. So I don't actually know what I can close on it. I would bet if I tested off of a slow squeeze, I would probably want to test it over a couple of days to give you a real number. Because what I know is with me, it's going to be all up and down. How do I sleep? How am I eating? All these different things. In terms of what I've actually done, so I've closed Captain to Crush 3.5 for 4 block reps before. When I was at US Nationals, I closed a Mash Monster 5 replica that was rated at 185 on what we call RGC scale. That was at the national event, so I know that whatever they said the gripper was, that's what it is. I've done 20 reps of a Captain to Crush number 3 from like a parallel set this way. I've done 5 reps with a credit card pass, and I've done the official cert. So if you guys are wondering, like, what do I know about Crush? I mean, that's what I know. Have I ever closed a 4? No, and I would not want to. So let's have a silver bullet for 2 seconds. So for me in an arm lifting league, we do that. There's 10 levels of grippers. The scoring on silver bullet is kind of, they haven't figured it out yet. The way that it works is this: any second hold beats any lower gripper. So if I put a number 4 in the bullet and hold it for 2 seconds and drop the bullet, and you take a 3 and you hold it for 2 minutes, I win the event. Does that make sense?
Right.
Any higher gripper beats the lower.
That makes sense, yeah.
Here's the problem. So my training partner, Tanner Merkel, has had the world record in this now for like 2 years. I mean, I think I know who can take it from him, and that's my other buddy, Steve Anderson. They were both here last night. Steve might be the one guy who can take it. Well, here's the problem. If we go to the meet and Tanner goes and holds the gripper down for 31 seconds, he's going to get 100 points for the contest, for that part of the contest. If I take the number 4 because of the current rules, and I lock in and hold it for 3 seconds and drop it, so I did 10% of the work, I'm going to get 94 out of 100 points. So locking it down, holding it, dropping it, I'm a 6-point deficit. And a normal contest is 4 or 5 events. So we're either on a scale of 400 or a scale of 500. So I don't have to expend all this energy, and I'm within 6 points of the first place guy. And most of the time I am the first place guy with that approach. So for me, like at the Olympia, I won the Olympia last year for the arm lifting meet. And a couple of the guys there had really impressive, like they had a PR performance. But like, for me, I walked the stage, I told the judge, tell me when it's 2 seconds. I locked it in and I held it. As soon as he said 2, I dropped it and walked off stage. And a bunch of people were looking like, hey man, are you okay? Like, we thought you'd do more. It's like, I came here to win. I didn't come here to do silver. I came here to win. I'm not going to burn myself out here because I'm planning on winning for Rolling Thunder. I'm planning on winning on Axel. I'm planning on winning on Saxon, where by doing a lot more than you, I can bury you in the points. So for me, guys, I'm a sport competitor. I'm going to read all the rules for my sport. I'm going to read all the rules on how the points are assigned, because meets are decided by the points, not necessarily who does the most. I've beat a lot of people in meets that they easily had outlifted me at an event or 2. It's how do you play the game? You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good strategy.
If you want to win, it is.
What are the 3 most impressive feats of strength? It could be anything. It could be like,
like anything.
It could be like free soloing, like the one rock and whatever that park was that Alex Honnold. It could be like the 1,000 with Thor's deadlift. Like, what are the 3 most impressive feats of strength to you?
So, man, okay, I'll tell you this: anybody who can do 1-arm pull-ups, I think, is already doing one of the most impressive feats of strength, right? And that's because every person who has arms has looked at a bar and maybe they tried to pull themselves up. And whether it was hard or easy, they might have wondered if they could do it with 1 arm. So I've seen videos of people, a lot of these guys I think were like circus performer levels, but I've seen guys that could hook their pinky, like that much of their pinky, on a thing and do a 1-arm pull-up.
Wait, I would have to see that. Like who did?
Look for pinky pull-up. Dude, I never know their names. I see a video and it's like, that's pretty bad. You'll find it. Like there's videos out there, you'll see it. Things like that, absolutely amazing. That's unbelievably powerful. In terms of just greatest feats of strength, I think when you see some of these guys, like we've had a couple people that have been able to clean the inch dumbbell over the years. So it used to be called the unliftable dumbbell, and these guys are cleaning it. Most big, strong guys can't do shit for an inch. I've been at fitness expos where I've seen 500 guys that are abusing steroids come through and not be able to pick up an inch dumbbell. So that's pretty good. Like when you see a guy lift it, it's like, dude, that's good. for someone to clean it, it's pretty amazing. And I think there's maybe 8 to 9 guys, maybe 10 that have done it. And the thing is all these big, strong guys that haven't cleaned it, they know what it is. You know what I mean? It's like there's a couple of guys that are out there that they are huge, giant, big, strong, very famous. They've never done it. Bro, they know what an inch dumbbell is. The fact that they haven't posted a clean, it's because they can't clean it yet. That's how hard of a thing it is.
So you talked about the King Kong grip. What do you see as the future of grip, and when it comes to standardizing grip competitions? Because you have so many different movements. As you said, there's so many different grips, so many different apparatuses. Do you see a type of committee taking charge in the future where you're going to have like a cyclical type of competition where it's like spring, fall, winter, and then there's different lifts for each one? Like, what do you see?
Okay, so that's a good question, Adam. So in terms of standardized events, because what you're describing is a very real problem. If you wanted to be a competitor, does that mean you have to buy a new handle every week? No, it absolutely doesn't. So I lift in the arm lifting league specifically for one primary purpose above all else. I know what the events will be. They have picked a group of events. We do not add new events all the time. Like if you ask a power lifter, what will you do at your next meet? Well, it's going to be their choice of bench, squat, deadlift, right? Like a power lifter going to a meet, he knows he's not going to show up and be asked to do lateral raises. So arm lifting, they have a standardized set of events. There are a couple formats because, maybe one contest would be the standardized pinch bar with the standardized axle, with the standardized rolly grip. And maybe another contest is the rolly grip and then a hub lift and a block, but it's standardized. Now, there are other leagues like the Europeans, when you talk about seasons. So the Europeans, being led by this primarily from David Horn, they've done seasonal leagues for years and years now. And what they would do for that is they'd let online has made a lot of this a lot easier. So you'll see guys that are running different challenges and they'll say, hey guys, for this amount of time, we're doing this thing, whatever. I don't know how grip would get out of being more of a basement level sport, but I do know who is probably going to be the one to do the most for the sport, and that's Larry Wheels.
I saw the video. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is Larry's had a lot of amazing grip and arm strength kinds of things he's shared over the last couple of years. He's probably one of the most influential guys right now in social media. Larry's kind of like he's got something going for everybody here. For the bodybuilding community, he's Larry Wheels. But for the strongman community, amazingly, look at this guy who he looks like a great bodybuilder, but he's actually really fucking strong, man. And he's pretty strong all over. So I personally think that Larry can do more for grip than any 10 people in the grip community can do. Larry can do more in one day than any 10 of us can do in a year.
Right.
So I think Larry is going to be a part of what would make it grow. Another guy, John Call, Juji Mufu.
Juji Mufu, yeah.
Juji has done a lot of it's funny because he's kind of become more and more as a kind of a grip guy. But when you look at how did we discover this guy? He's the 250-pound guy who can do perfect splits, and he can do like a one-legged squat with 300 pounds on his back and roll. Like he's just a crazy level athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I think Juji's doing a lot. The other guy that's really making a huge impact, especially because of YouTube, is Devin Larratt, champion arm wrestler from Canada, probably one of the top 10 arm wrestlers of all time.
Yeah,
guys, I don't know enough about it to say if he's 2 or 3. I know he's top 10. Well, Devin shows a lot of his training, and that's having an influence. So now there are guys that they're saying, I need to get into arm wrestling. They're going to find, if you look up arm wrestling on YouTube, you're going to find Devin Larratt right away. And one of the things you're going to see is this guy does hand training. He does wrist training beyond just a lot of pulling and curls, right?
Yeah. He actually came to the Chicago 2 days ago. So my club.
I saw the picture of that. Were you there?
I was there.
Yeah,
it was crazy. It was a great night.
I think Devin is. Really, those 3 guys right now in my mind, those are the 3 most important guys in social media in terms of if you're going to see grip go anywhere in the next few years, it's probably because Larry, John, and Devin. That'd be my prediction.
All right. Next question. Might get a little bit dicey, a little political.
Oh,
Greatest all-time grip guys. Greatest all-time grippers guys.
oh, okay. So greatest of all time. So Richard Soren is probably the American who put big grip feats in front of some of the most people, because Soren incredibly accomplished in his own regard, and then being that he's put a lot of money into the sport, he makes great equipment. He's able to get the best people in the country in front of each other over here. So I think Richard, for what he's accomplished and then what he did for the sport, one of the greatest of all time. David Horn is the exact same on the other side of the pond. David organized so much of the UK grip scene to get it going for years and years. He was the first guy who really did some pretty big international multi-site contests. Like King Kong came from David Horn's World's Strongest Hands. Strongest Hands started in 2010. It more or less became King Kong in like 2014, I think. But David Horn has done so much for the sport in terms of the organizing and keeping records. Like on his site, he's got records of every contest that was made known to him. So, if three guys did a contest in their backyard and didn't tell anybody, who knows? But if someone did a contest and they told somebody about it, Horn probably has it in a records book. Horn's done a ton for the sport. In terms of just absolute incredible ferocity, all around, I think Andrew Derniat, pound for pound, one of the best sport competitors we've ever seen. Derniat was just no weaknesses at all.
Derniat?
Absolutely. Andrew Derniat, Durnait, or wait, Niat. He operates a gym in Worcester, Ohio. So I'll give you a 30-second bio. So this guy played collegiate lacrosse. He got into strongman contest, Highland Games, and kettlebells in a pretty tight window, earned a Master of Sport ranking for kettlebell lifting, and he earned it back when nobody really knew about it. Like he already was meeting the Russian standards when nobody over here knew how to get the training done. He just absolutely was a dominant force for probably a 6 or 7 year window inside a grip sport. He won the US title a number of times. He beat world's strongest man competitors on stage at the Arnold, on stage in LA, at the Olympia. He did all those things. Then he got into triathlons and endurance racing, and just phenomenal. The dude is like, he's probably 6'4". When he's heavy, he's like 235. When he's light, he's like 225, and he's just an absolute machine. Like if that dude would have wanted to be a Navy SEAL, he could have been a Navy SEAL. If that dude wanted to be an astronaut, he probably could have been an astronaut. You know what I mean? Like his physicality is amazing. I can't say enough about him. He's one of my favorite people I've ever competed against. I think in terms of what he did to bring grip to other people, John Brookfield, very noteworthy. Brookfield wrote some books that caught a lot of people's attention. Mm-hmm. For most people, if you're really trying to learn about this, you've probably seen one of John's books. John pioneered his own way. He did it his own way, and his results, not a lot of people can really mess with John's results. Out of some of the modern guys on the scene right now, my lifting partner, Tanner, really just really something phenomenal. National level climber for a decade. He's heavy. He's a big climber. And he's telling me the story that he tells friends, man, if there was a way that we could see who's the strongest this way, I feel like I do better than climbing. And he found his way to a grip contest. And check this out. In the 2019 season, Tanner went undefeated in his weight class in both federations. Wow. In the 2020 season, Tanner went undefeated in both federations. So if we apply it by a numbers thing, he's beaten everybody 2 years in a row. Will he stick with it? I don't know. I mean, he's so good at it. I don't imagine why he wouldn't want to, but he has a lot of stuff he gets into. He likes to also climb. That dude can do one-arm pull-ups whenever he wants, man. Just any kind of handle too. Goofy ass, weird ball-shaped handles. The dude can do a one-arm pull-up. Pretty phenomenal.
What about there's a guy called Napalm from Diesel Crew.
Jed. Jedders, I've known Jed for, man, 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
Jed, in terms of what he has put on the web, I bet Jed has worked probably the most diligently out of a lot of people to always be like, Jed has a passion for grip.
Mm-hmm.
Jed likes to talk about grip. Jed likes to introduce people to grip. Jed likes to compete. Um, Man, I think I've done a lot of contests. I have to bet Jed's probably done over 100 contests and incredibly high percentage winners. He's won nationals a number of years. Jed's competed in both different leagues plus European leagues. You know, he's been at meets all over the country. Everybody in grip knows Jed. But here's the deal: Andrew beat Jed all the time. So if I have to talk about one guy from that era, I'm going to say Andrew beat me and Jed at the same meet. So I always say Andrew was the strongest of the three of us.
So you think, how about any newcomer? Like, what do you think about that one guy that Larry brought on?
Khalid,
Yeah.
he's amazing. You guys got to understand, this guy never had been in a weight room. He didn't lift weights. He's a mechanic. The guy is earning an amount of money per month that a lot of us make in a couple of days to live on completely. Bader, who had filmed all that, who got all those guys together, he saw the guy at the tire shop and he was thinking, dude, this guy's hands are unreal. Because Khalid's, he's not very tall, but he's just thick, man. Huge bones, huge bones. So he invited him out to his gym. And so far, this guy who doesn't even lift weights has come out and accomplished more in a month than most people have been able to prove they could do in a lifetime of training. He's amazing. I get to see him in February.
That's gonna be crazy.
He looks like a fun guy to hang out with, though. He's got that big smile, so I'm thinking we'll have a great old time there lifting.
You're gonna hang out with Larry, Bader, and that guy?
That is what I'm told.
Dude, that's gonna be crazy. I can't wait for that. Okay, how about injuries? I guess the best thing for injuries is prehab and making sure your programming is perfect and you're not getting.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure. You know, hey, the guys, you never want to do anything expecting to get hurt, right? You know, do those things, but here's the deal. So you just will get injured. You just will. Just that's life. Like shit. You could go to the gym and you could deadlift 500 pounds for a set of 10. Walk out of the gym, and as you're getting into your car, you sit down kind of funny and pop your back and be fucked for 3 weeks. There are people who can tell you that story. They run a 26-mile marathon. They have no problem whatsoever. They're walking out of their house and they trip on a crack in a curb that big and twist their toe in a way that they can't walk for 6 weeks. You're gonna get hurt, period. Now, the big thing is about getting hurt is don't be a fucking baby and go into, oh, poor me mode. That's here's the deal. You will get hurt. You will get sick. You will feel pain. You're going to have all those things, but you can't take all that and just quit with it. I mean, you totally can. Go quit. But if you do, most of the time, you're not even going to get better, right? Like, you know, and when I say work through the injury, here's the deal. If my shoulder's hurting, it doesn't mean I go do shoulder stuff, but can I go do legs? Can I go do abs? You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to do something to this, but I'm still going to show up at the gym that day, even if it's to show up and go sit in a sauna for 40 minutes. But don't quit just because of a given injury. You have to learn how to keep going without making it worse.
On that, okay, so anecdotally, this is what I've seen. How come it seems like grip and this type of tendon training, it's kind of like medicine? I had a guy that came out to his first arm wrestling practice, and he was like, "Dude, my hand, I'm not sure about my hand. I punched the door once, and it always felt bad since then. It's been years." And after the practice, it feels better. And he's like, "Yeah, I can't complain anymore." And actually, like 2 years ago, I sprained my wrist doing like dang, what's that? Like thing in the lake, jet skiing.
Oh, jet ski, yeah.
I hit a wave and I flew like 10 feet in the air, and then the force, like,
yes, sir.
One of the reasons I got into grip was because I had a good PT, and he was like, "Dude, you should do like a sledgehammer lever." I'm like, "Why would I do a sledgehammer lever when I want to rehab this?" He was like, "Dude, you have to load it if you want to get it back to where it was."
Dude, you had a good PT help you out, bro. That's good advice. I like that.
And most PTs were like, "Oh, rest, maybe like put some ice on it." But he was like, "Dude, you have to work it out." And then I would do these sledgehammer levers, and then in a few weeks. It took months of me just resting and bench. It hurt benching, it hurt everything. In a few weeks of doing the sledge movements of both here, it was completely healed, and now it's even stronger. And would you say that, like, I have a lot of friends in their 20s that are not very active, and they complain about like joint pain
Yes.
in their hands? Yeah, I gotta say, like, I want to tell them that, like, I don't know, I don't want to be like bro sciencey, but I feel like this type of training is so beneficial. I mean, like, what do you think? Is it going to heal them? It's
So the first thing I'd say is I think that movement is medicine. So I think that most of the time when we've had a problem, there's probably a particular way to move that probably makes it more towards better. It may not be instant, and that's where it might go wrong. Is if your shoulder's messed up and you need to do face pulls. I'm not saying day one it's going to fix anything, but that might be the brick that builds the wall that now you put now you can put the platform on to fix it, right?
mm-hmm.
I will tell you this, for your friends that are in their 20s that already have joint pain that aren't doing anything, dude, y'all don't even know. And then ask anybody who's 50 and they'll tell you you don't even know. And ask them, like, if you do nothing, life really hurts. You're going to get athletic injuries, and you're going to have athletic soreness, but it seems like the less a human is moving, the more problems that come up. I mean, think like this, man. So let's say I get a German Shepherd and I keep him in a box where it's only big enough for him to basically turn and sit. How many problems is that dog going to have through its life?
I have a ton, yeah.
Why do people think that we are different than the dog in that respect? So here's the deal. If you wake up, so you get out of bed to sit down to eat, to then sit in your car, to go sit in the office, to sit in the, think Chicago, y'all's traffic, you probably spend as much time waiting to drive as you do to anything else, right? So the thing is, for people, if it's sitting, dude, that is why so many Americans have back pain. You know what I mean? And they think like, well, I need to lose some weight and my back pain will go away. No, dude, you got back pain because you don't move. It's if you think that the problem is because of this and it's because of that, it's very hard to reach a solution.
Right.
For a lot of people, I know the problem they have is they're not getting the right kind of motions with the right amount of loading and the right amount of frequency. Range of motion, acquisition, and maintenance is more important than any amount of weight you can lift.
Yeah, I like that. Another question from Instagram. What is something that people need to stop doing when it comes to grip training? So what are something that you disagree with that it doesn't have to be popular, but something that you...
No, I have a few of those. Okay, so there are things that are sold as equipment, and just because you can buy it doesn't mean anybody should buy it.
I got this. I saw you with it.
What do you think of those? I dig it. Which one is
hard.
that?
I got the one that you were doing. It's too hard. Like, I
could bend it.
I could bend it if it's like this. Oh, but like I could go like maybe more than that, but I can't even get it near, like, if I do it like that, nah, like I need to go lighter or something. It's too heavy for me.
Yeah, it gets you a 50, because the thing is it'll still be useful as you keep getting stronger. You know what I mean? Like, the easier one will still be useful to you as you keep getting stronger. Yeah. Okay, so like some things are never in grip. So I'm talking to the grip people. There's some things that we never do in a contest, but that doesn't mean they're not good to do. And then there's a bunch of shit we do in contests that I think is okay. So Adam, here's a scenario. Let's say I tell you I'm the world champion at this lift, and you're like, oh my God, you're a world record holder. And you're like, how much weight can you lift? And I go, I don't know, about 43 pounds. Does that impress you? No, because right away you're like, my grandma can lift a bag of dog food that's 40 pounds. So we have these grip things right now where the records, the weight people are lifting on them is so low. Okay, I mean, so low. Some of these handles are so crazy to grab that the best lift that's ever been done is like 20 pounds or 30 pounds.
Like what?
If you're spending, so my buddy John Oka in California, in Hawaii, he makes all kinds of crazy little challenge grips. So this is like, like if you think about kind of levels going up in the Sigma pattern, this is the stuff that like the guys that are really into grip are doing. There's a handle he made that I think he calls it the Pluto. It looks kind of like a big metal marble with a big flange around it. So, it looked like a little miniature planet, right? and these guys are grabbing it like this, but I mean, there's almost no surface area. He makes it slick. It's a challenge lift. He built it to only have a couple pounds of weight. I think the best lift is like 20 or 30 pounds on it. Well, there's like 20 different kinds of things like that. So if you had it out at a grip event and you want to see everybody play with it, that part's fun. If you're training on that week after week after week, the problem you get into is you're only lifting a fraction of what you're capable of.
Right.
So for me, for training, people should focus on the things that allows them to lift the most weight in each of the different positions. That's because the first objective is you got to get strong. I think it's the forearm Friday and all the flexing and shit. Man, get the fuck out of here, you guys, with all that should go away. I totally think that one should go away. That you know, like I'll follow anybody for a little bit to see if I like what they're putting out. But if I could see more than a couple photos of your flexed wrist and hand, I might just be like, I'm done with it.
What do you think of the arm wrestling pose where everyone's like that?
I guess it makes them happy. I mean, isn't that like back in the 90s when everybody would be like, like that? Isn't it all that same kind of, it's like the meme of the time. I think it's silly. I think there's some people that because I am personally friends with them, I will follow them, but I hate seeing their channel because it's, every other day is them staring into the camera. It's like, and I'll fuck with them. Like, dude, you're not even strong. Quit doing that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that pose is corny, and every arm wrestler does it. It's funny. It's funny to me.
Oh no,
I do it because it's funny.
It's totally funny to me. Except there are people that they really are. They're just okay. Sometimes the joke gets funnier as time goes on, but sometimes it doesn't. And that to me is one of the jokes that it's like, let's put that one to bed and do anything else for a while. Especially those of you that are seriously doing flexing forearm shots every single week. And I know why you're doing it. You're doing it because people are like, good job, bro. Well, dude, man, just lift more weight. You'll be happier with the results. Just go lift more weight. That to me is what makes sense.
All right. I think it's the last one. It's been like 2 hours. I'm really thankful for you to take the time out.
Hey, my man, I said I'd help you out. I dig it.
All right. When you go out and you meet someone, do you hold back when you shake their hand? Are you aware? Are you aware? And also,
I shake everybody's hand like they're a little lady. And every now and again, you get some guys like, well, I know all about a man from the way he shakes his hand. It's like, well, then fuck you. Whatever you think that means, that's fine. The other thing I will not do is this weird. It's just, it's socially inappropriate to me. So some guys, if they know what I do, they'll come up and they'll say things like, hey man, I want you to really squeeze my hand. So what I'll offer to do is like, no, if you like, I'll coil lock your forearm and I'll show you what it feels like right before your ulnar bust, or I'll choke you if you want. I'll do all those things, but no, I'm not going to squeeze your hand. Like that's weird, because at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is they're trying to determine if they think they're stronger than me.
Right.
I'm a competitive athlete. If you think you're stronger than me, it's easy. Look at record boards and look at, hey, if that matters to you, you'll be able to get your data that way. That shit, I'm not into that. Sometimes they'll get people that they'll try to squeeze me, but there's like one of three things that I'll do in response, depending on how dickish they are. So if I don't know you and you seriously gorilla grip me, I'm going to left hand punch you in the balls, and I'm prepared to deal with you. Like I'll do it too. Some of you guys have been punching the balls for me. This is true. I will punch you in the nipple. I'll grab your nipple. Like if I kind of like you, but if you squeeze me hard, I'm going to give you a nipple twister.
By hard, you mean like as hard as I can, right?
Like, well, if you're grabbing me in a way that you're either trying to like impose on me, or you're trying to really squeeze the shit out of me because you think that my hand is so strong that if you think that's cool, that's fine. I'm gonna give you a purple nurple. I'll totally do it. And then if I'm really in a silly mood with it, when they pull in that way, I pull them all the way in and I hug them real hard. I won't let them do that though. I don't like that shit. It's not my game. Some of the people are in that. I'm not into it.
With other grip guys, you give them a firm handshake, right? Because you know that they could take it.
No, most of my buddies, I give them a fist or a hug.
Okay.
Most say, hey man, we either bump it or we're bringing it in.
You're saving your strength.
No, it's just I'm just not into that the whole way that it goes is basically this: is if you want to start feeling my hand pressure, let's go arm wrestle. If you want to get a tussle with me, I do jiu-jitsu, let's go roll. If you want to see if you're stronger, let's go lift. For some reason, for me, it's that there's this, I don't know, Adam, it's a weirdness, because here's what it looks like. I'm in a social environment. I'm talking to these two people over here. Some guy runs up, hey man, will you squeeze my hand as hard as you can? It's like, what is this, some kind of weird gay shit? Like, you know what I mean? Imagine if I went up to some lady and was like, hey, will you pull my hair real fucking hard? You know what I mean? Like, they would be like, no, weirdo, get the fuck out of here. To me, it's that same kind of thing. Like, no, I'm not going to squeeze your hand real hard. If you want
Yeah.
me to squeeze your hand hard, let's go arm wrestle lefty,
Yeah.
and
I
I'll
could only
show
imagine.
you a
Yeah.
fucking squeeze.
I could only imagine like I don't know, yeah, if you're with like rolling with like a younger guy and then you accidentally use too much strength because you get in a moment that you could hurt someone if you have strength like yours, right?
Well, so when I roll and when I do things like that, it's either being dickish or delaying. So you know what I mean? Like if you ever have somebody that they play kind of rough, like they're in the rules, but they're playing kind of rough.
Yeah.
There's a kind of thing. So like new people on the mat are terrible because they're spazzes. They're just spazzing out. So I'm a fond that basically anywhere I see flabby skin, I'll get a crimp grip on it. I don't hold it, but I'll grab and I'll roll it and then re-grip. So if you're trying to clamber around and I've got a hand anywhere by your belly, I'll like the way a German Shepherd will bite somebody when they're pinning them, I'll roll my hand up the ribs real quick. And you
Yeah.
would not like how that feels. So I'll leave you black and blue on the sides when I'm looking for underhooks. Because if I'm trying to underhook you and you got your elbow pinned, I'll grab the fat belly and I'll roll that fucking fat as hard as I can. And if your elbow pops up, I shoot on my underhook. And now I'm
Dude,
grabbing at your trap place. It's a dick move, but it's not forbidden.
yeah.
But I don't do that to everybody. I don't roll that. But like, if somebody's an asshole when we get started, all right, I can be a douchebag too. No big deal.
I only did it for a few months, and my friend was telling me because I was telling him how I submit people. And I'm like, yeah, like I just get in a guillotine and squeeze them as hard as I can. He was like, dude, you're that guy? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude. I was like, I thought because I wouldn't get like a clean guillotine. I'd be getting their chin, and they'd be like, I'd be squeezing their head, and they'd be like,
Yeah, that's a good example. There's a
I
new
didn't
guy, you
know, I
don't get it
didn't
because
know.
as a new guy, you really think you're going to win just by squeezing. And the thing is, it's like most time, guys, if you're a good training partner, when you're hitting your chokes, you're not really applying force until it's going to actually work. Because it's just if he's got me, but he's got his forearm across my chin and he's squeezing on my chin, I'm not going to tap from this. But it just sucks, and it's a bad habit for you to be in because you're burning out all your energy and you cannot finish the fight from here.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's a thing where, to me, the big thing is whatever your dick move is it should at least move you in a direction towards a clean submission.
All right. Yeah, dude. Thanks again. This was I do honestly I learned a lot. I thought I was well read. I thought I watched enough. I learned a lot today. So thank you.
Well, man, my pleasure. And the thing is too, buddy, you got my number now. So whenever you want to wrap, buddy, hit me up, and man, we can
Oh, for
totally do
sure.
it
Yeah, I'll
again.
definitely shoot you a text or give you a call. Dude, thank you. I'll probably like edit the video. I'll probably put like a full video and then also break it so I could have like 6-minute videos per topic. We went through a lot of good topics, and I
I
have
think
so
it's
many.
great.
Because in grip and arm wrestling and this stuff, there's not a huge body of research because connective tissue takes so long to study. Unlike muscles, where you could see like a 12-week study, you could have like results. But with this stuff, it's like honestly, like you
It'd
have
have to be over years.
to.
You'd have to set up like if you guys if they're ever going to really get the great answers at a big level, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's going to have to be a research group of 1,000 subjects monitored over 3 years where they kept training. And if I mean, those you guys that do this kind of shit, somebody who does research at them, they'd hear that and say, dude, who's going to agree to do that? You know what I
Right.
mean? So the best you're going to do is find guys who
Find
specialize in it
yeah, yeah.
and hear what they have to say. If you
Thank you.
interview enough of us, you're probably going to hear kind of the same thing every now and again pop up. And it's like, oh, that's notable that all four of those guys said kind of that same thing.
Yeah.